and not as wide. And why are those nets in the other end zone? Well, all of that makes arena football very special. Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Brando, and it is special enough this year for ESPN to be bringing you 15 regular season games, 2 playoff games, and the Arena Bowl coming up in late July. We're looking forward to bringing it to you. Now, throughout the course of this year, you may be saying to yourself, how did it all come about? Well, it came about because a young sports entrepreneur out of Chicago named Jim Foster, while watching an MISL indoor soccer game, had this idea that if I took the game of football, put it on this field, it might work. They tested it in 4 markets a year ago, and they averaged over 11,000 in attendance, and the television ratings did quite well here on ESPN, and that's why we have arena football in 1988. Working with me tonight is a former Seattle Seahawk wide receiver. We had to go way back in the archives to find this footage from Jim Zorn. And there's the touchdown caught by Steve Rabel. From 76 to 81, he played. In 88, he calls arena football. Good to have you.
My pleasure, Tim. And you can hear the crowd cheering for me as I step up. Actually, the players being introduced for the Los Angeles Cobras. I was in Orlando a couple of weeks ago watching the exhibition games of arena football. Most exciting, fascinating to watch, and partly because of the rule changes, which we'll be talking about in a couple of minutes. Suffice it to say, when we were kids, we played in a backyard on a small field with not too many guys. That's what we're going to be seeing here tonight. But again, all the tackling, hitting, passing, and kicking of professional football.
Now, there are 6 teams in the league, and this is the last game of the first week to be played. Chicago and Pittsburgh, holdovers from the test marketing campaign of a year ago, both ironically winners on the opening week, while Detroit and New England were losers, and this game coming up. This is an interesting game rule-wise. In many ways, it's much like the National Football League. In many ways, it's completely different.
Let's go back to how you began this broadcast. Let's take a look at the field. It's only 50 yards long and but 85 feet wide, so you have to have nets in either end zone to keep the ball in play. But in arena football, you can play that ball off of those nets, be it a kick or a pass, and you can advance it. Substitutions, you can only be substituted for once in the quarter, so you have to be in excellent shape, and you have to play man-to-man defense because you're on a narrow, tight field. Also, 8 players to a side, 18 guys on the entire field for each team, and you can drop kick the ball. Isn't that nice? Bring that back.
What is that?
Well, they used to do it a long time ago, but they're going to do it tonight, hopefully.
A drop kick is back in arena football. To go back further and talk about the differences, here's a play that really illustrates what arena football is all about. Opening night of the 88 season at the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. Pittsburgh attempting a field goal from their own 10. And look at that. It's off of the wall or the nets, and it's a touchdown run by George LaFrance, and it counts for the opposition 6 points. That's arena football, and we'll have more on this game between the New York Knights and the LA Cobras right after this.
This is where Michael Jordan...
A lot of players have played together before. Let's start with Jim Krochickia, the quarterback out of Penn. He had an outstanding Ivy League career and then went on to play for the New York Football Giants replacement team. And here's an example of what the New York Football Giants replacement team looked like early on against the San Francisco 49ers. Krochickia with a touchdown pass, but he was injured in the 3rd quarter, and what happened to the Giants after that, we all know in the NFL annals.
Both replacement teams and regular teams. Another person that he had on receiving ends of those passes, Edwin Lovelady, an excellent receiver, lots of foot speed out of Memphis State. He is one to watch tonight.
A.J. Sebastianelli is another player. He played at Penn with Krochickia, and he's an offensive lineman, but always eligible.
He'll have to play some tight end tonight. He has to be able to catch the ball to work into this offense. We'll see if he can do that.
The Los Angeles Cobras are led by a homespun star from UClan country, Matt Stevens, who is the 4th all-time completion percentage quarterback for the Bruins. Did an outstanding job while under Terry Donahue, and also played in the replacement games a year ago in the National Football League. And this really illustrates his strong suit, the ability to roll out. Now, obviously, he can't roll out as far in this game, but his mobility will certainly aid the Cobras.
And to survive in this game as a quarterback, you have to be able to roll out, because let's face it, some of those linemen up there aren't used to blocking offensively.
Gary Mullen is a wide receiver who played for the Denver Dynamite a year ago, caught 9 passes in the Arena Bowl, he's really one of the superstars of this fledgling league.
He really is, but the guy who got the biggest hand tonight when he was introduced, one Cliff Branch. Can you believe it? At 40 years old, or will be soon, Cliff Branch is playing arena football.
Can he backpedal as well as he can go forward? Well, that's the major question that we'll find in arena football for wide receivers and defensive backs. There's Cliff Branch out on the field, and this is a big moment for him, bigger than some might think. Now he's got an opportunity to prove to all the defensive coaches he once had that he could really play the game Bednarik style. We'll be back with the opening kick from Los Angeles in just a moment. We are back in the Los Angeles Sports Arena in Los Angeles, and the first kickoff of the first ever arena football game to be played in Los Angeles is about to occur. The Cobras will receive. Matt McKnight is back deep. He's joined back there by Gary Mullen and Cliff Branch. And the kick by Morrow goes out of bounds just beyond the 10-yard line. And that means the ball will be brought out to the 20 for first down, and that's a change from the marketing campaign of a year ago. In past years, they would kick over, or on a touchback, it would go back to the 5-yard line. Starting at quarterback, Matt Stevens. Weppy Powell out of San Jose will be his running back. Matt McKnight at one wide receiver, Mullen the other, and Branch. And then Michael Jones, he is the offensive lineman eligible. Brian Clark, the center, and Chuck Harris, the tackle. We'll set the defense for you for the Knights in a moment. 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line. Oh, toss sweep to Powell, and he fumbles. And the Knights may have it. Well, they say Powell got on top of it, but he did an excellent job to recover because there were 3 Knights all around it.
Well, there were, and you got to believe that this young guy is a little bit nervous. He came into training camp late down there in Florida. Nobody knew who he was. He had an opportunity to try out with the Cobras. There you see him getting back on that football. He just wanted to run before he had it. You know, they run so seldom in arena football. It probably surprised him a little.
Not the kind of opening play you'd expect either. A toss sweep with this narrow field. Stevens rifles it to Branch at the 16-yard line. First down, Los Angeles.
And Cliff can do what he could not do for 15 seasons in the National Football League, and that is only put one foot down and have it work for him. A down and out, you've got to respect Branch's speed deep as you see him diving toward the ball and banging into those boards. Padded, but banging into them nonetheless. And we will watch that. That's a big part of arena football.
No longer, and you look at the numbers, 501, 4 Pro Bowls, 2 Super Bowl appearances for Cliff Branch. He does want to get into coaching, but says, hey, I've got an opportunity to play. And I think also the fact that his head football coach here is Ray Wilsey, who, of course, spent so many years with the Los Angeles Raiders. And then Herber also. All of those gentlemen are Raiders people, and it's an opportunity to start something with people that you know and have a great deal of respect for.
Sure, and they know Branch's abilities. They know what he can and can't do.
First down and 10 from the 15-yard line. Powell again to the opposite side, stacked up for no gain. Greg Best was there to make the stop. Out of Western Kentucky, up front, Chris Jones, A.J. Sebastianelli, and there you see Greg Best at one defensive lineman spot, Derek Hughes, the linebacker, Pete Rayford, the free safety, Edwin Lovelady, the defensive back, and Stan Hunter, number 84, the other one for the New York Knights. 8 on 8, and from the 15, it's 2nd and 10. McKnight dumped at the 11, but a nice grab. He was cracked down hard by Edwin Lovelady.
And Matt McKnight really is a prototype arena football player. This guy, not that fleet of foot, but he can leap, he can catch the ball. Look at that catch. Look at him stretch out. And Lovelady, for being a receiver type, really lays the wood to him, knocks him down, but not before McKnight hangs onto that pass.
Pickup of 6. 3rd down and 4. So 3rd down conversion rate. Could it mean a touchdown here for the Cobras? Just inside the 10. Stevens, there's that mobility factor, and he finds Branch. Lovelady there on the coverage, but again, Stevens buying some time with that mobility that we mentioned at the outset.
And Cliff Branch, with all the experience in the world, knowing full well what he had to do, and that is when he saw Stevens in trouble, come back to your quarterback, help your quarterback out, and that Cliff did. Now we have a flag down on the field, it appears from here, so we'll wait for that call by the official. But Branch with an excellent in-the-hands reception coming back to the quarterback.
Defense against the white shirts, refused. Pass interference against the defense, refused. First down.
That's Verl Sorgen. You'll get to know him tonight because there are some rules changes that we haven't already mentioned. You have to play man-to-man defensively, and if ever a linebacker peels back further than 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, it's automatically a zone and a flag. First down and goal with the ball at the 3-yard line. Powell down to the 2.
Powell actually a linebacker in college out at San Jose State, but has shown the ability to run the ball. Wait till you see this guy play defense, and he will, because as we've said, all these guys have to be able to play both ways. Powell, an excellent athlete, not very tall, but stockily built and quick of foot.
Played at Saddlebrook Junior College, won the national title there. In fact, it was that coach that called Wilsey after the tryouts and said, you got to look at this kid. Second down at the 2. Stevens rolls, incomplete. Intended for Mike Jones, the eligible tight end who lined up on the left-hand side. Since we've already had the illegal zone, we should mention that what one linebacker can do in the game that is not exactly fair to quarterbacks at times.
Yeah, and if you're a quarterback, you'd agree with it. One linebacker can blitz. It's the linebackers opposite the tight end / offensive lineman. So keep that in mind. One linebacker can blitz.
And the pitch to Powell. Not quite. No signal. Out of bounds, just shy of the end zone.
Now, had that been on a normal field, Tim, that play would have slid about 7, 8, 9 yards. You can see Powell shaking his head. Man, he took a wicked shot against those padded boards.
And who would have thought we would have had 3 toss sweeps in the opening drive in a game where the field is as narrow as it is?
Well, the Cobras, they came in looking to run, maybe a little bit more than the Knights did.
Let's see if the big horse from San Jose gets it. Stevens, but he got help from the horse. Touchdown, Los Angeles.
Again, Matt Stevens, not very big, not what you'd call the scrambling type quarterback, able to run. Take a look from the reverse side here. You can see Matt Stevens sneaking across and Powell kind of blasting up in there and helping the way. Look at that, 2 blocks on the play.
And the extra point now from Ken Olson out of Salisbury State. They'll mark it at the 12, and the kick is up and good. So the Los Angeles Cobras in their opening drive from the 20-yard line go in for 7. They lead New York by that much here at the Sports Arena in Los Angeles.
If it hits the scoreboard or the rafters, the ball is placed directly down, straight down from the rafters where it hit on the field. And in this case, it certainly helps out the Knights.
Oh, definitely. The ball is at the 23-yard line, so both clubs come out with outstanding field position to start. The ball hitting the scoreboard, and kickers will have to watch for that. There's a lot of pressure on kickers to alter their usual styles in this game. Back to pass, and it's caught by Best. Touchdown, and Krochikia right on the money to Greg Best. 27 yards for the score and a marker down.
And you always want to wait for the marker to see what exactly the call is, but the Knights continue to celebrate, and the Cobras walk with their heads down. That leads me to believe that the penalty is going to go against the Cobras, therefore be declined, and the Nets are going to be up, or the Knights are going to be up on the board, their very first offensive play.
I think we get the feeling that there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game.
Touchdown. Personal foul against the offense. Assessed after the kickoff.
Well, the touchdown counts, and that's basically what the Knights are most concerned about. Nothing but a straight deep post, and one thing you'll notice about post patterns on this narrow field, all the way across the field, that play ends up.
Mora will kick the extra point. He is the backup, and he misses. So not having their usual kicker, Pat Ragusa, out of St. John's hurts at the outset for the Knights, as Morrow boots and misses. It's 7-6. The Cobras with a 1-point lead. And let's take a look at the touchdown play.
One more time. There you see Krzyzewski from the shotgun. One of the things we did not see in Orlando, any of the teams using shotgun. Big, strong kids stand back and throw the ball deep, and Best had his man beaten by 4 or 5 yards. Spike that baby.
Our score 7-6 with 8:47 to play. We see it from another angle, and no pressure on Krzyzewski at all.
And just a good one-on-one route. Krzyzewski leaving the defender, just standing there, ran right past McKnight. Spiked that ball in his face.
8 minutes and 47 seconds left in the opening quarter. We also should mention that the clock will continue to run until the final minute of play in each half, the end of the game and the end of the second quarter. And if we go to overtime, 7.5 minutes of play in overtime, both teams having possession of the ball, and again the clock would only stop in the final minute of that overtime period.
So these players out here really have very little chance to relax. You see one of the kickoff rules there. You can rebound it off the nets. It is live. However, as the kicking team, you have to give the receiving team 5 yards to retrieve that ball off the nets before you can go in there and take a shot at it.
Alec Gibson will kick off for the Knights. It's short, and Powell gathers it at his 14. Powell gets it up to near midfield, just shy of the 25-yard line. First down and 10 for the Cobras from that point. 11-yard return by Powell off the kick from Alec Gibson, and we have another marker down. That's Rick Puccinelli, the defensive coach, arguing with a line judge right there. He's the defensive coach for the New York Knights. Will spend a lot of time on the field throughout the course of this game.
Yeah, this guy, a lot of folks like to watch him coach. He's quite vocal.
Not a bad place to start a drive at the opposition 17 after the penalty. McKnight in motion. Stevens looks for him and has it. Out of bounds. Or in the boards, or both.
Or both.
At the 11-yard line. Pete Rayford, the defensive specialist, making the stop.
These guys who've played football all their lives, be it high school, college, or maybe had a chance in the NFL or USFL, finding out what a little National Hockey League action is like. Slide off the field, hit those boards, bounce back, and let somebody else nail you. Hey, this is a tough game.
McKnight out of Fresno State. We should mention that that picture you saw there was not of Matt McKnight. McKnight, of course, with the Los Angeles Cobras. There's Woolsey and his assistant coach Lynn Erber there. Out of the Raiders organization and now to the Los Angeles Cobras. Lou Erber has been by his side for many, many years while in the Al Davis system.
Tom Flory's their boss a couple of years.
He's here tonight, by the way, Tom Flory. Stevens for Branch, incomplete. Covering was Vince Corville, 5'9", 170-pounder out of Rice University. Also a fine wide receiver, played with Mouse Davis and the Houston Gamblers during the USFL days. Matt Stevens 3 of 5 so far in this game.
Got to believe there was a little mix-up that time, because Branch and the other wide receiver from the far side of the field literally ran together in that deep post area. And no matter how narrow the field is, you never design a play where both your receivers are running right to the same point all the way down the field.
McKnight is in the slot right. On second down, Stevens, there's that mobility. Incomplete. McKnight got a hand on it. May have gotten away with offensive interference against Pete Rayford. He had his arm draped across him, trying to keep Rayford from getting a hand on it.
Stevens pulling away now, ran into his fullback. Powell bumped it, ball bobbles, but again, he's able to scramble out with that quick feet that he has. Ball up in the air. Boy, a classic chance for a pickoff right there if anybody was able to get to it, but almost a catch again by McKnight. This kid can really leap, this McKnight.
Third down, 10 yards to go with the ball at the 13. Stevens maybe checking off at the line. And he's dumped. And in there quickly A.J. Sebastianelli. Out of Penn, a big horse coming through in a loss of 10.
Well, Stevens not having a whole lot of opportunity right here. You kind of wonder sometimes maybe those offensive linemen are getting a little bit tired, but the defenders have been out there just as long. And Sebastianelli just blasting through there. We see it from the other side of the field. Well, you can see the offensive lineman just hit the ground trying to block. Absolutely missed his rusher. And now we're going to get a chance at a field goal here by the Cobras.
Olsen lines up at his own 22-yard line. Stevens to hold. The boot wide to the left side and live and taken away by Corville. And he's dumped at the 5-yard line. Gary Mullen making the tackle. Corville can run the 100 in around 10-1, so if he makes one good move, he could be off to the races. We're off to the races with Arena Football on ESPN. LA by 1. Intercepted by Mullen. And he's down at the 6-yard line.
If you're a good enough athlete to play wide receiver, in a lot of cases you're fast enough to get deep with the best on the opposition. And that time Mullen riding stride for stride, leaping, making the interception. Of course, he can get up and keep on running. You know, Mullen last year won the Iron Man Award a couple of times in arena football, and that's the guy who best exemplifies arena football players, and that is somebody who can play both ways. Excels on defense, yet able to get downfield, make the plays on offense.
Earl Sorgen will take command for a moment now. We're having some difficulty with his microphone. Apparently, they'll get this play over again. Now, the signal that he gave is the signal for an illegal zone defense. But again, with his microphone malfunctioning, we were unable to tell.
You know, I'm not altogether sure, and again,
yeah, that's got to be it.
Illegal defense, a zone, first down.
That's an example of the linebacker peeling back.
And oftentimes it will be a late call like that because the guy upstairs here in the press box, just down from us, in fact, is watching for the zone defense. He has to then relay that message to the official on the field, who then has to make the call. So oftentimes it will be a delayed call.
Yes, the clock is running, as it always does, until the final minute of the first half. First down and 10, and a break for the Knights. And Krochickia once again with a nice 5-step drop. And again, it's knocked away. Wade Lockett got a hand on that one, as intended for Alfonso Washington, who's playing before some home folks. He played college ball at USC.
And Wade Lockett probably has a few friends here. He from Cal State Fullerton. Again, running stride for stride. Look at that leap right at the last second. Ball actually underthrown just a bit. Otherwise, the receiver had 6 on that one.
Second down, 10 yards to go out of Cal State Fullerton. Lockett, 24 years of age, and a player that really helped in the Western Conference for that club. Krochickia with the lone setback. Markers are down. Krochickia nearly down. Looking for Morrow, and Corville. It's out of play, and there's a wild scramble up in the stands for the souvenir.
That's right. They get to keep the ball if it goes into the stands here with arena football. Somebody's pretty upset that he didn't come up with a souvenir. But it's going to be illegal procedure, I believe, against the Knights. They jumped early. Actually, they tried to go in motion outside. They tried to confuse the Cobras a little bit, ended up confusing themselves.
We'll have to remind Verl to turn on his microphone more often. There he is. Tell us, Verl.
Illegal motion, offense, penalty declined, third down.
Verl Sorgen, Roger McKinn is our linesman, Bob Mantooth the side judge, Tom Myers the field judge. The zone officials are Stu Ross and Les Bruckner, and they are situated near us up here in the press box facility that we have, and they watch simply for the linebackers peeling back and forcing that zone. Third down and 10. Washington in motion, and Krochickia losing his balance. Washington again, same pattern, overthrown, and it will be fourth down.
You know, Krochickia's got a gun, but he'd have really had to throw that ball to get it into the net. However, In a situation like this, when the play is virtually broken, I mean, the timing is completely messed up at this point. Particularly just staggering around back there. He rears back and throws it as far as he can. If he can get it to the net, maybe his receiver has a chance to get to it on the carom, on the rebound. Again, you can play the ball off the net here in arena football.
4th down and field goal time for the Knights. Jim Morrow, the replacement kicker for the New York Knights, from 55 yards, woefully short, and McKnight at his own 8. Look out. Out of bounds and against the boards inside the 20. Lockett knocking him out of bounds. And once again, the Cobras will be in great shape. 7-6 our score. Los Angeles leads by 1. 16. Edwin Lovelady providing the coverage for the Knights.
Matt Stevens, you see there, 3 of 7. Again, his scrambling ability getting him out of trouble. Unfortunately, once he's out of trouble, he hasn't been able to hook up with his receivers. That time just too low to pass to Lockett. Lockett really looks up to Cliff Branch. You know, that's one of the great things about having a guy like Branch on your team. These receivers really look up to this guy. 15 years in the National Football League.
Lockett coming to the bottom of your screen. And Stevens looking for Lockett on the end pattern. Overthrown. Covering for the Knights, Pete Rayford out of Northern Illinois. And Lockett and McKnight are 2 huge targets for Matt Stevens.
They really are. You know, Rayford, the defensive specialist. Lockett, a kick return specialist, as well as a fine receiver. Matt Stevens, not very sharp here as we move along. He was sharp early on in the game. I don't know what the problem is. Maybe he's a little bit nervous. Maybe he finally realized he's playing in front of the parents and all the friends.
And don't forget about the timing now with new receivers in the game. Branch out, McKnight, and Lockett in the game. Stevens again throwing it incomplete. Lockett, the intended receiver. Lovelady was over there to provide coverage. Actually double coverage in essence, because there were other receivers in the general area. And it's 4th down.
That's one of the problems that you have in this game. If you take too long to throw as a quarterback, because of the narrowness of the field, your receivers are going to end up in the same area before it's all over. You have got to drop back 3 steps, find your receiver, and fire that football.
Clock is winding down. 6 seconds and counting in the first quarter. I can't see them. There's really no difference because there's no wind factor here, so they'll let the clock run out. And we'll come back with a field goal try from Ken Olson as we start play in the second quarter. Entertaining? You bet. Fun? You bet. Different in every way. We'll be back with the second quarter in a moment. No, we will stay here, I understand.
I think one thing that you left out of there, though, enough scoring? I don't think so. Not yet. We're talking 57-51 the other night.
Now we'll say goodbye for a moment. We'll be back with the second quarter in just a moment. We're back at the Sports Arena in Los Angeles. Tim Brando along with Steve Rabel, former Seattle Seahawk wide receiver, joining us for the entire arena football campaign. I'm here for just one outing, and Roger Twyble will take over the reins and work with Steve the remainder of this year. And as we start playing the second quarter, the Cobras with a field goal try. It will be from 35 yards away, adding the 8 yards of the end zone. Remember, 8 feet across the crossbar with the other side. Very difficult. Nice kick. But not good.
Not nice enough, and it goes into the stands.
Well,
so
it's a home run, but it doesn't count. It went over the nets.
That's right. We're down 2 footballs now, and you notice a straightaway kicker again, because a sidewinder, very, very difficult to aim that ball through that narrow opening, and so teams look for these straightaway kickers.
Half the length of the crossbar that you would find in the National Football League. So the kicking game is important, but if you have a kicker with an ego problem, you may not keep him long in arena football, because their average is around 50%, and you can understand why with that crossbar.
Sure.
Crocicchio, 1 out of 4. Outside of the touchdown pass, zip. He hasn't completed a pass since the touchdown aerial to Best. That pass nearly picked off. Ed Zeman nearly had the touchdown, and had he come up with it, He may have had 6.
Talked to Ed before the game. His specialty is defense, and so he looks for every opportunity he can to get in there. There is a defensive specialist that can come in and replace the quarterback. Quarterback and kickers, the only 2 players that don't have to go both ways in arena football. So a defensive specialist like Ed Zeman relishes his opportunities to get on the field.
2nd down. 10 yards to go. Out of the shotgun again. Prochikia. That may be interference offensively. We'll see. It's incomplete. Lovelady dropped it, but I think he may have pushed off, but it appears as if he got away with it.
Yeah, you don't see any flags on the field. Gary Mullen is complaining that he was pushed. Prochikia dropping back. And again, boy, he likes to throw the ball deep, doesn't he? He's gone downfield a lot. And they're lovely. Oh, he just pushed him right out of the way. Mullen is stumbling backwards. He's falling backwards. He was pushed so hard.
Prochikia now 1 out of 6.
You know, that really is a big play, because without the call of interference, had Lovelady made that catch, there's 6 more points.
3rd down and 10. Derek Hughes, the lone setback. We haven't heard from him tonight. Nice block on Powell, allowing that pass to be caught by Lovelady. Zeman with the tackle up against the boards. Ed Zeman, his father, Bob Zeman, coached at one time with Coach Wilsey.
With the Raiders. Now he's up coaching the San Francisco 49ers. And now, Lovelady coming out of the game. He was pinned against the boards on that reception. And I don't know if he twisted his ankle or maybe caught that foot on the turf, but he limps off the field.
4th down and less than a yard. And obviously on 4th down, you consider, well, the field goal, but if we do that, they can run it back, so why not go for it? Or maybe a fake. You never know. Morrow, again, the backup kicker, because their regular kicker, Pat Raguso, known affectionately as Paco, has a pulled groin in yesterday's practice. Again, it's short, and Cliff Branch will let it go out of bounds. 1st down. It will be out of bounds at the 6-yard line. That's where the Cobras will take over. Lovelady is coming back into the game, so evidently his injury not a very difficult one. It is 7-6 with 12:13 to play in the 2nd quarter. Tim Brando and Steve Rabel back again with you at the Los Angeles Sports Arena in Los Angeles, California. The Los Angeles Cobras with a 1-point lead over the New York Knights. And we have seen a lot of action, but not much scoring. No scoring, and I think we're seeing now that it is early.
We're seeing a lot of blown patterns. We're seeing drop passes, quarterbacks stumbling around a little bit. It's early in the year.
Branch back in the game now in the 2nd quarter. Let's see if that makes a difference in the timing. Long pass. That should be a penalty, face guarding, and it will be. Back there covering was Pete Rayford, and there was no question about that one up against Gary Mullen. He was beaten, and he knew it. And had he not committed the penalty, it probably would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, you can't feel too bad if you're Pete Rayford. I mean, let's face it, Gary Mullen beat a lot of people.
Defense. 1st down.
Here's the pass downfield. We see Rayford just screens him off, sticks his hands right in Mullen's face. Ball hits Rayford right in the back, as a matter of fact. No question in the official's mind. He just couldn't get the sock out of his pocket.
If we were calling a basketball game, we'd say that's a good foul.
That's right. You got to give up a few of those once in a while.
And in a lot of ways, because of the matchups and the substitution patterns in the game, as a coach, you really have to coach this game in a man-to-man matchup or take advantage of a mismatch kind of style.
And be ready to react, because almost anything can happen out here to change your entire game plan.
1st and 10. There's the toss to Powell. It worked in that opening drive, and he fumbles again. And it's recovered by the Knights. A.J. Sebastianelli was there, and I think also Stan Hunter. Hunter came away with it.
Powell really has had his difficulties this evening. Again, let's remember that Weppy Powell from San Jose State was a great linebacker. Not that used to carrying the ball, although in Orlando he did a fine job in exhibition season carrying the football. Here he just coughs it up after a tough hit.
11 minutes and 28 seconds to play, and when we come back, the New Yorkers will have another chance. Admittedly, a coach that thinks defense, and in this game that is supposedly an offensive-oriented game, defense still may win it in the clutch. And this is a low-scoring game, but perhaps by design where the Knights are concerned.
Well, I'm not sure what's wrong with the Knights tonight. Again, down in Orlando, they didn't exactly shine down there on offense. But again, that excuse was the players only had a week to 10 days to actually work together. Now they've been working together 3.5 weeks. They should know each other a lot better. They should know the system. Things just aren't clicking for them right now on offense, and we'll see if Korchickia can get things going here.
He sends Hunter to the lower portion of your screen, and he'll go in motion now. They do allow forward motion after some lateral motion, and there's the pitch to Hughes, and he breaks free. Totally crossing up the Cobra defense with that motion. Went right back the other way.
Derek Hughes, a big kid, big fullback out of Michigan State. Fine running back. Was actually in the Seahawk training camp for a season. Look at him. He just runs right over a defender, sticks that shoulder down, stepping out of bounds there as he's tripped up along the sidelines.
Mike Jones was there to get a hand on him and force that tackle. First down and 10 with the ball at the 15. There's Derek Hughes out of Michigan State. And a fine career there. And Best now will give some motion. And there's the forward motion we mentioned. That's legal. Pass incomplete. Intended for Lovely. And a marker down. A late one. They may have found Wade Lockett there. And he'll argue his case right now.
Well, I don't know. I may have to question that call. Even though I'm a receiver, I may have to question that call. We'll see. I think Korchickia should have looped that ball to get it in there instead of throwing it on the line.
If you notice an abnormal amount of conversations between the officials, it's because they too are having to learn a new game. Let's listen in to Verl Sorgen now.
Defensive pass interference. There's no penalty. We do have an illegal zone against the defense. Wait a minute.
An inadvertent flag, but a penalty nonetheless.
That's right. Again, the illegal zone defense, and as we've said before, those plays are going to be late coming down because they originate up here in the rafters and then have to be relayed down.
Illegal zone against the defense. First down.
Boy, that whistle's loud, Verl. At the 10-yard line, Korchickia for Best, and he dropped the ball. Quickly there in coverage was Ed Zeman.
There's a play that Greg Best should make every time. Just a little flare pattern. He's got to make that catch, and we have seen the New York receivers doing that time and time again tonight, and that's one of the reasons they only have 6 points on the board. When Korchickia does get that ball in there, they're not able to hang on. And Best, he's an NFL veteran. This guy played for Chuck Noll in the '83 division championship team with the Steelers.
He's easily really the best product that they have on this club.
I think so.
The known commodity on the New York Knights. Some motion again, and now Powell gets through and makes the tackle of Korchickia. Weppy Powell, born on the island of Tonga.
And a little help from his friends in there, too. Chuck Harris out of West Virginia able to get in there. But Weppy, the blitzing linebacker. And there again, you take your chances if you're going to blitz a linebacker. If that back swings out into the pattern, but a guy with the quickness of Weppy can get in there, he can disrupt the entire play. And Korchickia had absolutely no chance.
All at the 16-yard line. Third down, 16 to go. Hunter going deep. Korchickia gets him. Touchdown. Or you could see that one coming from the snap of the ball. Hunter got off and had a quick step.
There was no question in anybody's mind when Hunter left the line of scrimmage to get out of Bowling Green, set all kinds of records there as a receiver, what he was going to do. He's just going for the post, and this appears to be the best pass that Korchickia throws, and that is the long, deep route downfield. The ones that he's thrown short have been incomplete up to now. Of course, that blame a little of that on his receiver.
And we do see two different styles offensively tonight. The Cobras are more of a ball control, if there is such a thing in arena football. They like to roll out. They like the 5-yard passes and maybe even the toss sweep with Powell. These guys go for the in pattern as often as possible tonight.
And going for the 2-point conversion here.
It counts 2 if converted. Markers down, and Hughes gets blindsided by the boards.
Kind of ran out of field over there.
Welcome to arena football.
Again, these guys cannot practice against boards and nets. They have a short field and a narrow field to practice on.
Oh, and an illegal defense again.
All right, here we have reverse angle now on the touchdown pass from Krochickia. Looking downfield to Hunter. No question. 1 foot in. It's down. He's actually got 2 feet down. No question getting down deep in the end zone behind all the defenders.
And no way Matt McKnight could stay with him after that initial step. The end pattern you'll see a great deal of in this league simply because of the man-to-man concept in the secondary.
Sure. You won't see a lot of deep corner routes. There's not enough time to let that play develop. You may see some quick outs if the defenders are really dropping off, giving you some room. Here we have New York has another opportunity now because of the illegal zone defense by L.A. So New York can come back here and put 2 more points on the board. They get a second chance.
Now remember, Morrow is the backup kicker. He's missed already a couple of times, so they probably will go for 2 a few more times tonight. Hunter, the motion man. Hughes on the pitch. And he gets in for 2. A late signal, but the 2-point conversion handled nicely by Derek Hughes. And with 8:51 to play, it's 14-7 New York.
You notice the motion coming back to the right side. There's the pitch. Nobody left outside. And Derek Hughes into the end zone, no question.
Back to the sports arena in a moment. Meanwhile, back at our special, unique brand of football, the arena football season underway. Tim Brando and Steve Rabel and the New York Knights with a 7-point lead. Morrow will kick off, sort of a pooch kick, if you will. And it's taken in by Prather, who gets it down to the 21-yard line. Now, whether that was the forced pooch kick that coaches like in college or an accidental miss kick shank that pros would be very embarrassed over, we'll leave that to you to decide.
Well, let's decide right now. I think it was the latter, quite frankly. Morrow just, you know, it's unfortunate. Paco's got some tight muscles tonight. He can't go, so Morrow's thrown into the fray as the kicker, and he has yet to really get a hold of one.
That drive for the Knights, clearly their best of the game, 30 yards, 4 plays, and the touchdown, and they finally utilized Hughes out of the backfield as a runner in that reverse play that they pulled with him after the motion was the key play in that drive. Stevens, little play action fake, looks for Lockett, touchdown. So the pendulum again swings the other direction after a drive, 1 play, and we're near a tie again.
Stevens just faking inside, holds the defense ever so slightly, and then just looking for the deep crossing route. Nice catch by Wade Lockett, a 22-yard touchdown reception for the kid from Cal State Fullerton, who, again, probably has some friends and family members here tonight.
Olsen now for the tying extra point. They place it down just inside the 13. At the 8 yards of the end zone, it's 21 yards, and they missed it. So our score now 14-13 with 8:13 to play. We'll continue from Los Angeles in just a moment. Arena football is here, fans. Stay with us.
And here's that touchdown play one more time. Motion to the near sideline. Stevens just dropping back, holding the defense. Again, from the other side of the field, take a look. Lockett wide open, stretches out for the reception, and the 6 points for the L.A. Cobras.
Clearly this game is built for receivers and quarterbacks, and frustrating, the payoff is that receivers get to run routes after being beaten as defensive backs.
You know, the more I watch this game, the more I like, maybe I could play this game. If they just take me out and replace me with a secondary guy, I think I could play this game too.
The substitution pattern has been a good one, and coaches have to be aware of that substitution pattern. Here we go, playing to Karam off the net. It's a live ball and a touchback. Now that means the ball will be brought out to the 5-yard line when the ball is downed in the end zone. The equivalent of the 20 in conventional football becomes the 5-yard line in arena football.
All right, that play off the net again. That ball, once it hits the ground, it's a live ball. The on-rushing kicking team has to give the receiving team or the player at least 5 yards to catch it off the net. But once it touches the ground, hey, get out of the way because they can nail you.
Vince Corville safely tucked it away and went down to one knee. First down, 10 yards to go for the Knights. They lead by 1 with the clock counting, 7:47 to play in the second quarter. Krochickia again in trouble. Not in the grasp. And out of bounds, incomplete. Corville made the catch, but did not get 1 foot down. And the pressure was coming from Eric Arrington from the Cobras.
Arrington is as big a lineman as there is in arena football, but Krochickia, who's a big, strong kid, able to get rid of that football, almost had his face mask yanked. Now watch Corbel here on the sideline, ball coming in. Corbel's got to have 1 foot in. There's 1 out, and there is...
Oh, I don't
know. Close. And it's too bad, too, because he really got nailed against those boards. You almost wish he'd have made the catch just for having to pay the price.
2nd down and 10. Krochickia again in trouble again. Lets it fly. Caught. And a touchdown. Joe Kelly was defending in the pass reception made by the New York Knights. Alfonso Washington out of USC, a former quarterback with the reception here.
This is a great play by Krochickia. I mean, he scrambles around and he fires it, and Washington just thinking, hey, I'm going to get deep. That's all there is to it. I'm just going to try to beat my man, and he did indeed. Great catch, great pass by Krochickia. We see it from the other side of the field now, almost run out of bounds and really hit after he releases the ball. But there it is, right on the mark to Alfonso Washington, who keeps his feet just long enough to dive into the end zone.
And now they'll go for 2 again. 20-13 the score. This is a big conversion. You get a 9-point lead. That's a couple of possessions, or you'll need a drop kick. Krochickia gets some room, finds Corbel. Had it knocked away, it would have been a conversion, but Ed Zeman polished him off, and we have a marker down.
And it's going to be another one of those illegal defensive calls going against the Cobras. They've had some trouble with this call this evening, and it will once again give New York a second shot at that 2-point conversion.
Illegal zone against the defense. Retry.
Let's see if we can pick out the zone. Now it looks as though everybody's tied up in man-to-man coverage. There, at the bottom of the screen. You got 92 and 20 standing together down there with no offensive players down there. There's the illegal zone defense.
Lockett and Kelly were there with no one. And that's the dead giveaway. Krochickia now talking with the brain trust of the Knights. Ballack, Monty Charles, Rick Puccinelli. It's 20-13. The Knights have another crack for the deuce when we return. Tim Brando and Steve Rabel back at the Los Angeles Sports Arena. 6 minutes and 45 seconds to play in the first half. And the Cobras now on the short end of a 20-13 score.
And Krochickia kind of talking it over on the sideline, saying, now what can we do here? Should I throw back across the field? I haven't had a lot of success tonight. I've only completed 4 passes out of 11 attempts.
But 3 for scores.
3 for touchdowns. That's right. So again, the big play offense of New York, they're not content with just pitching the ball, throwing the quick passes, which is really strange because the Raider mentality, which permeates this Los Angeles Cobra team, one to always stretch the field and go deep. I'm surprised to see LA playing as contained a football game as they are.
Johnny Shepard now in the backfield for Krochickia, number 32. And nice move. Great call by the Knights offensive staff. They faked the pitch to Shepard, and then Krochickia just cut inside for the easy, untouched 2-point play.
He had some help. He had some great blocking by Hausman and the like, but again, the fake, nobody expected Krochickia to run, and that's one of the things about this game. As a coach, you have to be aware of everything going on the field and be ready to react in an instant. Here's Krochickia taking it down the line. Everybody's running away from the quarterback. They say, this guy's not going to run, right? Wrong. Hey, he's 6'2", 210 pounds. Big kid. Somebody decides to hit him, and it's the defender who goes to the ground.
Tony Palomari and Richard Prather both going for the pitch, man, in that case. And, boy, was that the wrong move. That was right out of the old Tarkenton playbook. You know, you take the time, you go over, you talk about it, which play can work, and they haven't run a pitch since the one to Hughes. That's only the second time they even gave that look. Now there's one, an onside kick, and Arrington has it at the 15, down to the 13. I get the feeling now with Paco out of the lineup, they've just decided to forget about the kicking game.
I think whether they want to forget about it or not, I think they're being forced to. I'm not exactly sure. I don't even think that was Morrow. I think they yanked him to have somebody else try to kick, and that one was even worse. Oh, that's awful.
Morrow have been pressed into duty because of the injury to Raguso, and they've also used Alec Gibson at times to kick off, both of them having some difficulties tonight,
to say the least.
Yes. Stevens, McKnight, touchdown. Well, the one thing I'm certain of is anytime a team scores, the following play the opposition definitely scores.
You know, you have to think of it this way, too. And that is, these offensive players have just gone downfield and made a big score. Now they're forced to turn around and play defense. But you can't beat a play like that. That's a great catch by Matt McKnight. This guy's a surfer down here in Southern California. Loves to play the game of football. Nice enough kid. Talking to him before the game, and he's just really looking forward to this opportunity out here, and he has shown well.
Olsen now will try the point after. And it hits the top and is no good again. So they've looked good, but they haven't counted for Ken Olsen.
And for poor Jim Mora, it hasn't been any better. His have looked bad and been bad to boot. All right, let's take a look at the reverse angle on this pass play here. Stevens, once again, pulling out from behind center, pump fake, and then just laying it. Nice line, good lead pass out there to the receiver, and McKnight just diving across the end zone with the ball.
Operates a beauty salon, does Mr. McKnight.
Yes, he does.
Has a nice do underneath that helmet. 22-19 our score, and just as we were talking at the outset of the second quarter that we're probably not seeing as much scoring as we anticipated, when we're finding out it doesn't take long.
No, it really doesn't. You can turn this game around in 2 or 3 plays, and we are seeing both these teams trade shots now. And again, this has got to catch up with you toward the end of the game. Remember, the same guys who just scored on offense may be turning around and have to defend on defense. It's very tough on you physically to be able to play that long two-way football.
Olsen kicks off. It's deep through the end zone and out of bounds. Now, when that happens, it is a touchback and would come out to the 5-yard line. Now, Sorgen is trotting out to the 20.
And the players along the Knight sideline.
Well, now they're ruling that it went out of bounds prior to going out of bounds at the end line, but that was very close. They could have very easily been through the end zone without hitting the net and then a touchback.
And that's why we're not being paid to also officiate this game as well as call it. There you see New York showing up on top in total yardage, 106 to just 70 yards for Los Angeles.
Krochickia again looking down and deep. Corville intercepted inside the 5 by Zeman.
Again, we mentioned Ed Zeman's dad, Bob, a coach now for the 49ers, playing his man. He, the defensive specialist for the Cobras. He comes in to replace the kicker or the quarterback, and he just times his leap perfectly, jumping right inside of the intended receiver. Boy, these guys really take a nasty shot up against the boards. Now it's coming back. Are we going to have an illegal defensive call again? Let us wait and see what the officials call.
Well, there were a lot of people back there with Zeman, as I recall. Here's Verl Sorgen.
Illegal zone, number 93. First down.
All right, the call is against Matt McKnight. He's being called the offending party in the illegal zone, and there you see him. He's just sort of hanging around, standing there. Where is the man he's covering? Not anywhere in the game.
That's why it's an illegal zone. 5:30 to play, and Krochickia again. Corville, touchdown! Vince Corville with that outstanding speed that we all remember from Mouse Davis's run and shoot with the Houston Gamblers, which really revolutionized some offenses in both the National Football League and even at the collegiate level. Corville with a 25-yard reception for the touchdown.
And while we have seen Corville make catches like that, he's a fine receiver. We expect maybe a little bit more out of Richard Rogers. Watch this, number 25 for the Cobras. He, the defensive specialist, just gets turned around by Corville, and after that it's a foot race. And Corville's going to win most foot races in this league, at least. There, Rogers on the play to make the tackle, but too little too late.
That was some offense that they had when Jim Kelly was quarterbacking the Gamblers. They were devastating, and Corville was on the receiving end many times. They're going for 2 again. Isn't that a shock? Corville in motion again, and down goes Krochickia. in the grasp of Tony Palomera. And we've got markers down and a few other people that may be going down soon.
Tempers tend to flare a little bit out here, especially when you get a little bit tired. Somebody grabs a hold of the jersey, and you maybe want to fight free just a little bit. Palomara, who's a little bit of a hothead anyway, he says, give me a piece of this guy.
Three-sport letterman at Notre Dame High School in nearby Sherman Oaks.
All right, let's take a look at Krochicki one more time here as he drops back and looking to throw. Nobody downfield that time. The defense tightening up nicely for the two-point conversion, and he's dragged down. Ooh, boy, almost had his knee rolled up under. He's in the fight.
That was Krochicki doing it to Palomari, who, by the way, works for his family's restaurant, and the name of the restaurant, appropriately enough, is Rockies.
I think that would be appropriate for all these players out here. Rocky-type stories, every one of them.
They may be doing lunch there after the game. In typical L.A. style.
I was just going to say, that's right. And we have McKnight with his blonde hair and blonde mustache, surfer type. He'd be right in the swing of things.
28-19, the kick. Mullen touched it. Bad move because it would have gone out of bounds and would have been first down at the 20-yard line, but he touched it, then it went out of bounds, and the clock shows 5:14 to play, stopping briefly as they set the ball down just inside the 10-yard line at the 8. There's Cliff Branch. Had a couple of catches in that opening drive. We haven't heard a great deal from him since.
Well, one of the things that Ray Wilsey told me before the game, the coach, of course, of the Cobras, Cliff, while he's a great offensive threat every time he steps on the field, it's going to be tough on defense. And they have tried to devise ways to, if not hide him on defense, certainly help him. But now we get to see him do his specialty, and that's run deep.
Stevens in trouble and dumped at the 2-yard line, and a bevy of Knights surrounding. They want a safety, but they won't get it.
Quentin Knight jumping up and thrilled about his big play there, the sack of Stevens. Quentin Knight also has family here. Cal State Fullerton, and look at him get outside, and he just nails Stevens, puts the headgear right in the kidneys. That's not a lot of fun for a quarterback.
Chuck Harris, number 60, watching in dismay, beaten badly that time by Quentin Knight. And Harris has been around this game a while, played for the Denver Dynamite a year ago, and those regular season games that led to an Arena Bowl in the test pattern year, if you will, for Arena football. Second down and 16 with the ball placed at the 2. Stevens will keep it and negotiate beyond the 5. They'll mark it down at the 7-yard line or call it the 8.
Where he hits the ground, isn't it?
Jim Morrow was there to make the stop. Interestingly, we're talking about the woes of the kicking game. Morrow, who is replacing Pat Ragusa tonight, the St. John's kicker. When asked about finding an extra kicker with Ragusa out, Coach Valek found out from Morrow he was a kicker. He said, well, did you ever kick competitively? And Morrow said, no, but, well, I was the 3rd string kicker at Iowa.
Valek immediately popped 2 roll aids and said, this may be a long night on the kicking game.
Stevens on 3rd down finds his man Mullen. He may be the most dangerous all-around receiver that we have. When I say all around, I mean he can run the quick outs and then beat you deep as well. Rayford collecting him and throwing him out of bounds outside the 20, or just inside the 20-yard line.
You know, we talk a lot about Cliff Branch in this game, but I got to believe Gary Mullen, who was, again, all-arena first team last year and playing on the championship Denver Dynamite team, this guy really does play excellent football, fine pass routes, and he's tough. He's not afraid to take a shot.
Stevens for Branch at midfield and ridden into the boards in a hurry. Alfonso Washington was the first to get there.
Alfonso's a real story. Here's a kid who was the city player of the year in Los Angeles, goes to Oklahoma, and they convert him to a defensive back, wide receiver. He comes back to USC and finishes his career, and now he's out here in arena football trying to catch on. He's also the disaster quarterback, and that's nice to have. A guy, if your other 2 quarterbacks go down, you got somebody who can also step in there and play.
He was a 2nd string quarterback at times, not 3rd. That's key.
Yes.
Stevens, Branch has it at the 15. Rayford wraps him up there.
I don't know how many times I played against the Oakland and then Los Angeles Raiders in my career, but I sure saw a lot of Cliff Branch doing just this, running downfield, knowing where he is all the time in relation to the defenders, getting his body between himself and the defensive player and making that grab.
We should point out that also there are a lot of players in the National Football League that had stellar careers that would never attempt this game simply because they wouldn't want to be in the position of having to play defense and perhaps show their inadequacies in certain conditions.
And I think that's a tribute to Cliff Branch. He's able to just come out here and say, hey, I'm going to do it because I love to play.
1st and 10. Powell gets it on the toss sweep. And Powell with some thunder. Down to the 6-yard line, 1st and goal. Just shy of the first down. It'll be 2nd down at the 7-yard line. 2nd down in short yardage coming up. Pete Walters made the stop.
Powell's had a difficult time hanging onto the ball tonight. This time, he sticks it under that left arm, wraps it up tightly, breaks a couple of tackles, and thunders ahead. This is the guy we saw in Orlando make the big plays.
Powell again trying the opposite side. And again out of bounds. Greg Best making certain that happened. Clock continuing to run now with 1:16. But remember, with 1 minute left to play in this half, the clock will stop. And it will stop for the moment now as the timeout is called by Los Angeles, and they'll take advantage of the opportunity of stopping the clock prior to that 1 minute, which becomes ever critical now in scoring position.
And I guarantee you, as Matt Stevens walks over to talk to his coaches, Lou Erber and Ray Wilsey, his teammates standing out there on the field are ever so happy that a timeout was called, because this is a great opportunity for them. They don't get many in this game to catch their breath.
Coming up at halftime, Alan Massengale back in our Sports Center studios will be bringing you up to date on everything else that's been going on in sports today and sports tonight. The National Hockey League game tonight, as seen here on ESPN, won by the New Jersey Devils. They move on to play the Boston Bruins. And next week, next Friday, Roger Twibel will join Steve Rabel for the telecast, the Cobras against the Chicago Bruisers. That game to be played in Chicago, the home really of arena football. Jim Foster and staff in the Chicago area. They demolished New England in their opening game over the weekend. Look forward to bringing you that one.
And Chicago looking down at the preseason training camp like it might be one of the weaker teams in the Arena Football League, and yet they really came on last night and beat Babe Pirelli's team, the New England Steamrollers, and should be a good contest next week. Chicago, another one of those defensive-minded teams against Lou Erber's team that, well, they like that controlled offense. They like to try to move that ball up and down the field.
28-19 our score. The lack of a kicking game, you wonder if that might jump up and give the Knights a problem. There's Coach Erber, the assistant coach that you just mentioned, who, of course, helping Coach Wilsey, former member of the Raiders staff, as we have alluded. And Branch now flanking out to the top of your screen. Powell, the lone setback. And Mullen coming at the lower portion of your screen. Stevens rolling and looking for Branch, and now Mullen, touchdown. Well, what a double threat from that point of the field. You've got Branch on one side and clearing out for Mullen on the crossing pattern.
Yeah, that's the reason I don't want to play, because as a defensive back, you've got to try to latch on to one of those guys. Branch at the bottom of your screen. There's Mullen at the top of the screen. He just gives a nice inside release, and he's away. He's got his man beaten from the snap of the ball, and that is what a good wide receiver does. The defensive back just has no chance on the 4-yard touchdown reception by Gary Mullen.
It's 28-25. And they'll go for 2 here, it appears. So Olsen, who's also missed 3 extra point opportunities, will watch and see if his team can convert for 2. Stevens trying to buy time, looking for and finding Branch, but he was totally covered by Rayford. Rayford broke it up, and he's also injured.
A couple of players ran together down in the end zone. And one for the Cobras is leaving as Rayford for New York comes up off the ground, and he's holding that shoulder.
I think it's a credit, and we should mention this, to the league. They've made some changes in terms of the field, the AstroTurf that they're using now. You don't see the seams in the middle of the field anymore, and the boards are padded, and they must be.
And the padding underneath this field helps an awful lot, too, as we see Stevens roll out, finally stepping back, throwing the ball over everybody and almost into the hands of the defender. In fact, into the hands. It should have been a catch by Rayford. However, the 2-point conversion. And then he and a Cobra running together. He had relaxed just a little bit, and that's when you get hurt, Tim, when you relax out here on this field.
The point there being, though, with the changing of certain items that we're seeing cosmetically with the boards. And there you see, again, him being administered to Rayford, and he'll be apparently okay. But the boards being padded now, that means a great deal, because this is the kind of game where if you don't make it as safe as possible, could be very, very hazardous.
You bet.
Corville right up the middle and down at the 20-yard line.
To go back to Morrow one more time, again, the defensive specialist for that New York team. He was nursing a sore, or for the, he was nursing sore muscles anyway. Now he comes in with a sore shoulder.
The Pittsburgh game against Detroit was one to remember, played earlier this week as the arena football season got underway. The Pittsburgh Gladiators taking on the Detroit Drive. That game played back on Thursday night. Record attendance at Joe Louis Arena. Mike Hohensee with a great game, looking long and finding Caleb for the touchdown. Great pass, actually took it away from the defender. And then Detroit came right back. Dixon will be on the receiving pass from Ingold, 39 yards, and the Drive had it in full gear in the Motor City. But Mike Hohensee had the game of games. Watch him go to work here, 39 yards away, looking for and finding Dawkins for the touchdown. 39 yards the score, and the Gladiators hold on. Hohensee 28 for 43, 292 yards, 9 touchdowns.
That is the kind of excitement that you see in arena football, the big scores. A lot of folks say, well, that game is nothing but offense. There's no defense. At some point, Pittsburgh had to stop Detroit to allow them to get one touchdown up. So defense, in effect, wins you games here in this game.
Alan Massengale will be joining us in Sports Center, and we'll be back with halftime highlights of our first effort here on ESPN with Arena Football in '88. And we've got markers down again. Well, the clock stops now automatically. They'll stop the clock from time to time for official conversations, and I think that's another item that we should mention. These officials are having to learn a new game as well.
And they have much more input than just the 4 guys down on the field. They got those guys upstairs here watching them as well.
By the linebacker, defense.
Encroachment now. A 5-yard penalty in conventional football is 2.5 or 3 yards if you want to round it off. And that's the way it is with most rule violations that we see in this game.
Because the play didn't go.
Boy, is Sorgen on top of this game. Get another second on the clock. Prochicchia again in the shotgun with Hughes his lone setback. And Hunter gives motion. Up against the boards and out of bounds is Edwin Lovelady. Cliff Branch there providing the coverage and putting that Raider hurt on the New York Knights.
It didn't hurt him either that he had Zeman close by after a couple of minutes. There's Cliff, Johnny on the spot.
Now, I wonder if he'll take this highlight and put it in with all of the other highlights and play it for his grandkids at some point.
Boy, it's going to take a long time for him to get to these because he's had so many highlights over his career, you can't count it.
53 seconds left, and the clock has stopped. 28-25, the Knights with a lead. Prochicchia, and a mix-up that time between he and Stan Hunter, the intended receiver. He pulled up, and the pass was a fly pattern.
And Valek on the sideline saying, what are you doing, Stan? You're supposed to go deep. Get downfield where the ball was thrown. Stan Hunter's nickname is Silk. He looked anything but silky on that as he kind of pulled up and looked for the ball to be thrown across the middle, and Prochicchia laid it out down the sideline.
Valek, what a career he's had as a scout. He was an assistant coach at the National Football League, and really he's looking the gift horse in the mouth with this job. He had no idea that he would be involved in arena football, and the Giants really helped him get this job as the head coach for the Knights. Prochicchia incomplete, and in desperation did a good job of finding Lovelady. And we may have another marker down. We do.
We may have a hold. I saw Derek Hughes. It looked as though it was maybe the greatest wrestling takedown in the history of arena football. But let's see if the officials saw it. Yes, they did.
What was the situation?
All right.
So the Cobras and their fans excited. They may have another shot at scoring here before the first half comes to an end. 41 seconds left to go in this first half of play.
Holding, 66, decline.
Pete Walters,
Fourth down.
the guilty party out of Western Kentucky, holding Palomera, who has been really a force defensively since coming into this game.
Sometimes that's the only way you can stop a guy like Palomera is just reach out and grab him and pull him down. Hope the official doesn't see it.
Best will give motion. They had a trips look You can give forward motion. Prochicchia looking for Hunter. Out of bounds.
And it'll be an interference call. No question about it that time. Interference all the way. Richard Rodgers, again, who was beaten earlier in the game in the same place on the field, this time lets Hunter get behind him, and he's forced to reach out and try to knock that ball down. There goes Hunter running right past him. Silk this time does a nice job doing what he's supposed to do, and Rodgers did the only thing he could do, and that was dive into the receiver. Yeah, he knocked the ball away, but he also committed interference. But again, it's one of those, hey, you might as well, because it's not from the point of the infraction. It comes back to the line of scrimmage for the penalty.
First down and 10. Richard Rodgers is a popular name in the history of college football, and I'll explain that in just a moment. 34 seconds to play in the opening half with the ball at the 20-yard line of Los Angeles. Prochicchia for Hunter again over Branch. Touchdown. Well, Cliff.
Welcome to arena football, Cliff.
They didn't hide you that time.
No, they didn't. Zeman tried to get over and offer a little assistance, but Silk came down that time. Stan Hunter gave a little juke move and got by Cliff Branch for a 19-yard touchdown score. Prochicchia looking like he knew where he wanted to go all the time. Pick on Cliff Day, and that's exactly what they did.
Well, granted, he was in deep trouble, but he could have made, it was very close to making an outstanding recovery there.
Hey, on this field, as tight as the quarters are here, every play is close to being a great play.
That's true.
But Cliff, close is not going to get it.
That's right. 34-25. Prochicchia will now go for the 2 here. Gets some pressure and wide open. But tackled quickly by Rodgers. And that was on the receiving end, A.J. Sebastianelli that took it in, and it appeared that he was just going to waltz in for the 2-point conversion. But quickly Rodgers was over there to make the tackle.
Rodgers mad because he's been beaten a couple of times now, had some interference calls made on him. Look at him come from across the field, and Sebastianelli, as big as he is, stopped him dead in his tracks. That is a great play by Richard Rodgers.
Now, you want to hear my Rodgers story?
I'd love to.
Richard Rodgers was involved in the play back in 1982. Remember it? Stanford against California. No, he's not the guy that ran over the trombonist. He's not that guy.
Right.
But he was involved in 2 of the laterals. In fact, he had the first lateral, and then again got it 2 laterals later, and then gave it to the eventual scorer. There he is, Richard Rodgers, and he will be etched in Stanford's gray matter forever.
That's right. Played for Cal. Joe Kapp to this day taking credit for designing that play, the play in Cal history.
Mullen grabs it on the sidelines and waltzes out of bounds inside the 25 and into Knight's territory at the 23-yard line.
There is Morrow, who we mentioned a little earlier, Jim Morrow.
Oh, I think that's Rayford.
Oh, you're right, it is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Pete Rayford out of Northern Illinois that had that shoulder problem, and he's obviously in some pain.
Coming in with a sore muscle. We didn't know if we would see him tonight. There he is. And now he is in some pain with that shoulder injury.
Didn't appear that tough early. He did come back into the game briefly. Just 23 seconds remaining in the first half, and Mullen gathers it in and is out of bounds at the 15, about a yard shy of a first down. Edwin Lovelady knocking him out of bounds.
What great stats you can end up with at the end of a game if you're a receiver. 12 catches for 180 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns. That would have been a season for me. And was. Now that I think about it.
79. I think I remember that year. Stevens, pump fake, and Branch has it at the 10, first down, and the clock stops with 15 seconds left. So you don't have a 2-minute, but you have a 1-minute drill with the clock stopping in arena football. Edwin Lovelady knocking Cliff out of bounds.
And Cliff Branch, again, going back to doing what he does best. Go down, turn around, take advantage of the fact that defenders have to be concerned about your deep speed. And so Branch just turning around, making the catch, getting out of bounds, stopping that clock.
You may not find a better tandem of receivers that can be in a game at the same time than Mullen and Branch in this league. Stevens rolls, Mullen again, and he clears out for Branch. Touchdown! Touchdown!
I'll tell you what, we haven't given credit tonight to the linemen playing for either team, really. But let's credit them because Stevens had all kinds of time to make that pass. In fact, Cliff Branch coming down and across the middle We'll see it on a replay here in just a couple seconds. But Branch coming across the middle, stopped, had time to actually stop and turn back and go in the other direction. Stevens able to find him because he had time to make that pass. We don't think too much about blocking in this game and tackling, but it's still a big part. This is pro football, folks.
And a timeout called now by the Cobras, and they'll decide what they're going to do, whether they should kick the extra point or go for 2. At this point, it appears they'll definitely try for 2. Ray Wilsey talking with Matt Stevens on the sidelines now. And Stevens now, after what was a questionable start, is off to a very good first half offensively. 12 out of 18 and 4 touchdown passes.
Stevens passed for 4 touchdowns in the first half of the exhibition contest down in Florida. That against New England, which eventually, strangely enough, the Cobra lost. They're the coaching brain trust for Los Angeles, Ray Wilsey and Lou Erber, talking to Eric Beavers, the backup quarterback, who, quite frankly, I talked to him before the game. He expected to see action in both halves of this game, but once Matt Stevens has gotten on track, I can see why Ray Wilsey just decides to leave him in the ballgame.
Beavers played at Nevada Reno, which is a powerhouse of Division I AA. Every year, Nevada Reno is in the Division I AA playoffs. They won it, of course, 3 years ago, before Georgia Southern took over, and Beavers, of course, had a lot to do with their success.
His senior year, an undefeated season for Nevada Reno. He's a fine quarterback, a little shorter, however, than Stevens.
They'll go for the 2 now. Powell the lone setback, and Stevens will roll and go down. Nothing doing that time as Pete Walters nailed him, and he had some extra help from Sebastianelli, and Stevens couldn't get away. And with 9 seconds left, it's 34-31. The Knights leading the Cobras.
And when you get nailed by Pete Walters, you know you have been nailed. The strongest man on this New York Knights ball club, set all kinds of powerlifting records when he was growing up in the state of Kentucky, my home state, by the way.
The Bluegrass.
Yeah. Got some bluegrass action coming up next weekend, don't we?
That's right. Thoroughbreds of a different breed.
Kentucky Derby. I lived for that first Saturday in May. Never could afford a ticket, but always lived for first Saturday in May.
Well, it's down the stretch they come in half number 1. The Knights receiving now the oncoming kick from the Cobras. Just 9 seconds left. When somehow that missed the scoreboard. And that will be a touchback through the end zone. I think I've figured out now it's a very good idea, and you have to give Jim Foster a lot of credit also for having a running clock for 14 of the 15 minutes in the second period and at the end of a game. Because now we started this game about an hour and 20 minutes ago. If the clock stopped, as it does in conventional football, this game would last longer than a lot of marriages.
Absolutely. But instead, I like that. You must know something that a lot of us don't know. Anyway.
No, mine's going well.
I was going to say, because yours has gone so well, as is mine.
But consider that, an hour and 20 plus minutes, and we only have had the action stopped in the last minute of this period. Now, granted, we have had a number of penalties in this first game.
Sure.
9 seconds left. And Crocicchio will go deep. He's been successful before, and he is again. Hunter down at the 3. Clock will stop with 2 seconds to play.
Now, as the coach of the Cobras, you have got to be telling your players, Cliff Branch, Richard Rogers, who's back there, you've got to tell those guys, get as deep as the deepest. I mean, just run with your man and don't let him by you. Well, here comes Silk. Stan Hunter, the kid from Bowling Green, tall, lanky young man with lots of speed. And he makes the catch from Crocicchio, who's throwing it from back on his own goal line. What a great pass and catch.
Well, normally you'd think, well, they'll bring in the kicker now and get the automatic 3, but that's long since been forgotten.
We forgot about that during warm-ups. As soon as they saw poor Jim Morrow take a couple of cracks at it, they figured, forget this.
Pat Raguso, as we chronicled earlier, for those of you just joining us, the starting place kicker for the New York Knights, pulled a groin in yesterday's workout here. There you see the time remaining, just 2 seconds left. And now with no available kicker, the Knights have had to go for 2 after all of their touchdowns.
Now, they've been successful throwing the deep pass and stretching the field, has New York. Let's see again how successful they can be in tight quarters.
This will be the final play of the half. Hughes, and Palomari knocks him out of bounds. Well, that's a surprising call, particularly to the side of the field where number 80 is located, Palomera.
They tried to get the motion going back to the far side and then pitch the ball to Hughes. Remember, they were successful earlier, but this time, no such luck. And look who comes up to make the play, the defensive specialist for the Cobras. Ed Zeman steps in and makes the play and drives Hughes right into the wall, into the padding. And that was just a surprising call, as you said, Tim. But again, they're going with something that they did pretty well earlier in the ball game.
Well, that's right. In fact, the Cobras did it extremely well in their opening series, grabbing the lead. Now, it's been an up and down sort of opening for Cliff Branch in his first arena football game. A touchdown pass reception, yes, but this also.
That's right. He's given up a couple of plays, and we'll see right here as Cliff is clearly beaten by Stan Hunter. Cliff has the hand up, but unfortunately just not enough to make the play. Now one more time, let's take a look at Cliff Branch, this time doing what he does best, and that is play offense. Matt Stevens dropping back, rolling just out to his right, and that was the touchdown pass that Cliff had enough time to start making the move across the field, plant, and come back.
One great thing about this game, you never can hang your head because you've always got an opportunity to make up for it in a hurry on the offensive end. We're at halftime. Tim Brando with Steve Rabel, New Jersey Devils, and this fast and furious first half that we have here at the Los Angeles Sports Arena. And right now the Knights with the 3-point lead. Steve Rabel, who joins me. Your impressions of this new look kind of football indoors after the first 30 minutes?
Well, Tim, as a matter of fact, it wasn't as fast and furious as we assumed it would be early on. Kind of a slow game. Very few points scored in that first quarter. But then things started to pick up. Receivers caught the ball. Quarterbacks found their receivers. And maybe more importantly, some of those guys going both ways started to tire on defense just a little bit and gave up some long, easy touchdown passes.
Speaking of touchdown passes, let's look at a few. That's right. Let's take a look now at Lockett now, running the crossing pattern. And again, Stevens with the play action. It does work here in this instance.
It really does. It freezes the defenders just enough so that Lockett can get a step on his man. That is a great catch. Stretching out like that. Only one reception, but a 21-yard touchdown catch.
And now, stop and consider this now. It's Krochickia going deep often. Alfonso Washington, the converted quarterback at one time, running out of USC at one point in his career, now going deep, and Krochickia throwing really off balance in this occasion.
Krochickia in his own end zone, falling backwards, hit as he threw, yet had the wherewithal to find Alfonso Washington, who, as a converted quarterback, makes a pretty good wide receiver and defensive back, diving for the reception. He gets up, spikes the ball, and that's where we are now.
Interestingly, a few fans down here asked us, what about the Cobra defense? They're kind of weak. I said, look, if you average giving up 40, you may lead this league in defense.
Absolutely.
Right now, it's 34-31. The Knights lead the Cobras by 3. Kinds of numbers that I think we'll see in most arena football games.
Don't expect to see, let's say, twice as many rushing yards as passing yards, or don't even expect to see them close. 183-17. The field goals, I think, is one that's most important. Let's face it, these guys out here have been practicing kicking through these narrow goalposts. You got one kicker who's hurt and he can't go. Really, the kicking atrocious out here tonight, quite frankly.
Jim Valek, I'm beginning to wonder now if he may have used reverse psychology on his kicking game, because to assimilate having nets, he asks his kickers during practice to hit the goalpost, hit the crossbar, so then our guys may have a chance for a rebound. So
consequently, they haven't hit anything out here yet tonight. And that's one of the problems when you coach that way. But I don't know. I think, again, offensively, both these two teams showing that they can certainly move the ball. 34-31 at halftime. There's an awful lot of offense out there. Let's see, I think, if the defenses can continue to hold up as these players get tired, and you know they will, having to play both ways.
The Knights, by the way, work out at Uppsala College, and there are no nets there, and there are no nets at all of the facilities. So it's trial and error many times when you're dealing with a rebound off of the net. In fairness to these players, it's very difficult to get used to, although I don't know that practicing that would really help a great deal.
I wouldn't think so. You can never get that ball to come off the net the same way twice. So you try during early warm-ups before these guys were out here before the game, and they tried to get that sort of simulation, that feel of that ball coming off the nets, but still you can't practice something like that.
Krochickia with 183 yards passing in the opening half, starting things here in half number 2 from his own 5-yard line. Shepard, the lone setback, and a fumble. Prochicchia with problems handling the snap from Chris Jones.
And I'm quite surprised, actually, Tim, that we don't see more of that. Because these centers out here generally have never played the center position before, and all of the linemen have to be prepared to play that spot because they're rotating in and out of different positions.
Well,
this really is the kind of game where you have to be able to do a lot of different things.
That was Walter Hausman to correct that. Chris Jones, the starting center, and Hausman in for him. So again, as a quarterback, you're having to work with two separate units at times, and that time Hausman and Prochicchia unable to make connections. Second down, and he's in his own end zone, unloading again for Alfonso, incomplete. Washington covered step for step by Lockett.
These fans who went out at halftime to maybe get themselves some pretzels and a cup of lemonade, they better come back in a hurry because they're liable to miss a 60, well, it's not going to be 60, maybe a 58-yard touchdown pass as Jim Valek looks on, hoping that his quarterback can find the connection here on a third down play, something to move them out of their own 4-yard line area.
That's Monty Charles he's talking to there. Third down and 12 to go from the 3-yard line, and again out of the shotgun. Prochicchia looking for Best. Nice play by Zeman. Great recovery by the youngster out of Fort Lewis College, Ed Zeman.
You wonder if it's in the genes because his dad, a fine defensive coach for so many years with the Raiders, now again with the 49ers, but Zeman just coming clear across the field with the receiver, and at the last possible second, quite frankly, had Prochicchia been able to put that ball out there a little further, it would have been a reception and perhaps a touchdown, but Zeman does get there to make the play.
Well, this is just going to be a punt from a place-kicking position, folks. This is Best, who will kick.
The best kick of the night, quite frankly.
And it's taken by Kelly, and he's down inside the 20, may go all the way. Finally knocked out of bounds. I'm not sure who got the worst of that.
Definitely not the wall.
No.
The wall is built to take.
Kelly certainly didn't. Quentin Knight forced him out of bounds, but in so doing, it was Knight that pinned himself up against the boards.
And here comes Kelly on the return from our end zone camera. Look at him change position, put that ball in the outside arm like you're supposed to do, turn up field, and he gets knocked out of bounds. Oh, Knight. Oh.
I don't know that Pat Verbeek was checked that strongly in our NHL game earlier tonight. It's 34-31 Knights. In the second quarter, now with a chance to take the lead on the opening drive, and you couldn't ask for better field position at the New York Knight 13-yard line. Wade Lockett in the game at the bottom of your screen. Alfonso Washington will check him in a man-to-man, and there's the pass for Rogers. Touchdown! On the opening play of half number 2, and Stevens makes it count.
And Richard Rogers trying to make good on a couple of poor defensive plays earlier. This is a spectacular catch. He goes way up in the air for that one over Greg Best, brings the ball down. Let's take a look at it from the reverse angle here. Stevens just dropping back, knows where he wants to go, and it gets clobbered after he throws it. But Richard Rogers with the fine reception right there. Pretty good reception for a defensive specialist.
That's right. And he went up and over, and look at that. A standing O for Mr. O. Ken Olsen notches the one. That's his first since early in the game. 38-34 Cobras in the snake pit of the arena. Cobras with a first lead in at least one quarter of play. 38-34. And the kick to Alfonso Washington 5 yards deep in the end zone. Jitterbugs to the 13. And Richard Rogers, who scored the touchdown, made the tackle.
And we see the touchdown again. It's time from the end zone. You see Matt Stevens dropping back, looking all the way to Rogers. And Rogers skying, reaching up and making that catch over Greg Best. Best an offensive player in his days in college and in the pros, so maybe not so used to being back there in the secondary.
Washington remains into the game, and he'll readjust now. Prochicchia aligning him now, and all three receivers line up at the top of your screen as Best now gives motion. Krochickia in trouble. Arrington is there. Palomera there. And Prather there. Arrington forced it. Palomera kept it going, and Prather polished up.
They all had a shot at him. Krochickia here showing us something. You know, we keep talking about him being a big, strong kid, but the prototype drop-back quarterback shows some agility. Gets away from one, gets away from two, but does not get away from the big kid from Frostburg State.
And a penalty. With all that activity in the backfield, it would be hard to figure an illegal zone, but we may have
Holding. Number 92 defense.
Oh, they got
First
Lockett.
down.
Lockett caught for holding, and that's the first holding call against the defense that we've seen in this arena football game.
Well, and again, remember, Lockett is an offensive player lined up out there with a wide receiver, and all you can do sometimes is hang on for dear life.
So the ball now at the 15, and Krochickia again looking long. Dodges Arrington and Prather, and finds Morrow inside the 10 and down at the 2. Boy, give Krochickia credit again, maneuvering and getting away from a lot of pressure.
Not only the maneuvering, but take a look at this arm. This guy has got a gun hanging on the end of his shoulder as he dodges one, dodges two, slips inside. Fire that ball on a line, and there is Morrow standing right there. He may not be able to kick very well, but he can get himself open and make the catch on the far sideline. Takes 2 Cobras to bring him down.
Morrow out of Iowa. The ball now at the 2-yard line. First and goal. Crowd wants some defense. Krochickia, oh, an option. Shepard. And it's a touchdown. Richard Prather was over there defensively, but Johnny Shepard out of Livingston University takes the pitch and gets in.
Johnny Shepard is some story. This kid was Rookie of the Year in Canada when he played up there. Coming down from Canada, maybe a little bit unhappy. Felt like he wasn't treated very well up there after earning Rookie of the Year honors.
Had some changes with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and that obviously affected him and what he could get accomplished in the CFL.
But what he just accomplished there was a nice touchdown run. And really, again, you see these defenses are so geared to stop the pass that when you make the pitch, if you've got a good fake to hold everybody inside, you're going to almost dance in.
And they'll go for 2 again. Krochickia with a wide open receiver. And that was Alec Gibson out of Illinois, 6'4", 240-pound tight end defensive end, one of those that was eligible, and the 2-point conversion good, making it 42-38 Knights.
Watch the double fake back there by Krochickia. Fakes to both running backs. I mean, there are defenders back there that still don't know where the ball is, but Alec Gibson knows where it is, and it's right in his hands in the end zone.
10:24 to play in the 3rd quarter. Already a couple of touchdowns scored, and there's your score.
Thanks again.
And Steve Rabel, happy to be bringing you the first of our 15 regular season arena football games here on ESPN. Roger Twyble will take over the reins from yours truly next week, and Steve Rabel will be joining him for that game and for the 14 games following on into the playoffs and the Arena Bowl in the month of July. It's been a pleasure being here with you on your debut on ESPN.
Thank you, Tim. A pleasure for me to be working with you.
There's the kick, and look at it. Very deep, and here's what's facing Matt McKnight. Dumped hard at the 16-yard line. Walter Hausman made the stop for the Knights.
Johnny Shepard in there on the play as well.
They'll mark it at the 19.
The fans here in Los Angeles getting into it. You know, we've talked about the excitement in a tight, close arena. This close to the game action. We've got a little wave going that was, by the way, invented at the University of Washington in Seattle, where I come from. The LA fans down here seem to have it down all right.
Well, we've had a lot of wide receivers waving at defensive backs.
Yes, we have.
There's your clock, 9:54 and counting, and time called by the officials.
Flag hits the ground, something that McKnight did, I assume, in his motion. Let's see. Now it's going to go against New York.
Illegal encroachment by the linebacker. 3 yards, still first.
All right, so there's a case of the encroachment. You can't have it from a linebacker.
Right. One linebacker again can blitz, and that's the linebacker opposite the tight end. And it's tough to tell really who the tight end is because they're both basically tight end type guard
lining
players.
up at a guard position.
One guy doesn't wear gloves, the other guy does to catch.
The number has to be 80s or above, and that's really the only way you can differentiate the guards. This time lining up on the right-hand side or nearest us. And there's a fumble by Stevens, and Powell trying to come up with it.
New York thinks they have it.
Walter Hausman signaling that the Knights have the football. Yep, they don't.
Those are the kind of plays that you get your quarterback killed. Once again, perhaps a new center in the ball game for Los Angeles. Not able to make the connection with Matt Stevens, and while he's out there floundering, trying to grab a hold of that football, here come 8 defenders from the opposite side. There, Krochickia looking at his counterpart for Los Angeles. Matt Stevens out on the field. Krochickia really has played pretty well, especially on that deep pass tonight.
Working on a new beard, has his game face on for arena football. Stevens looking for some help now. Branch coming up to give it. A nice defensive play by Best. Knocking it away from Cliff inside the 10-yard line. And it will be 3rd down and 9 yards to go.
Gregory Best out of Beaver Falls High School in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. Went to Western Kentucky. Kid that had Joe Willie Namath as an idol growing up. That time took a page out of the Cliff Branch book of receiving. Come back to the ball, which is what he did, and smacked it away from Branch, who was right there to make the reception.
This time, and the tight end of the game, Mike Jones, on 3rd and 9. He's the nearest lineman, the lower portion of your screen. Stevens looking for Branch, and a near one-handed grab by Cliff. Vince Corville was providing the coverage against Branch at the 25-yard line.
Cliff Branch now in isolation. Let's watch him. The style, the moves. He always looks so smooth. Coming down across the field, just a double level in route by both receivers. Ball behind him by Matt Stevens, and Branch very nearly brought that in. Back in the old days with all the stickum, he might very well have caught that pass, but no longer stickum used.
And now Olsen will try a field goal, lining it up at his own 12-yard line. 41 yards the attempt.
It hits the upright, and it's live.
And it is live, and it's a touchdown. Powell had it and then lost it. It may be a touchback now. Powell was on top of it, and had he recovered it, it would have been a touchdown. Safety is what they're calling now. But Corville was also there. They may be ruling that he was on top of it. Now, Greg Best is livid.
I think he's saying that he did not have 5 yards to try to make the play, and there was a flag down in the middle of the field. So let's watch. From the reverse angle, the ball will be coming in, bouncing off the upright and into the field of play. Now that player for New York smacks it back into the end zone, and the Cobra player, Powell, trying to get to it, knocks it out of bounds, ergo the safety. Well, the officials are talking it over. There is a flag down, and they may be discussing whether Best was given an opportunity to make the catch.
Well, remember now, the ball bounced back in the field of play, not into the end zone, so that rule of 5 yards away from the end zone in line may not apply in this particular instance. Now, Verl Sorgen is now talking with Roger McKenna and Bob Mantooth, and Greg Best is still making his point. Sorgen will make his point for all of us.
There is no foul. The ball was batted legally. It is a safety for Los Angeles.
So perhaps had not the ball been batted, Best would have made a point.
Very possibly. The ball hits the ground and comes up. Now there you see the Knight player trying to keep it away from the Cobras, knowing that they can retrieve the ball. Smacks it, but unfortunately back to his own end zone. The ball knocked through. Alfonso Washington knocking it through. And there, we thought that it was Powell smacking it loose and knocking it out of the end zone, but it was one of the New York Knights players actually getting rid of it, knocking it out to save a safety.
Right, it could have been a touchdown because Powell was certainly in position to be on top of it. And for a moment, the back judge there was about to signal touchdown, and then all of a sudden put the hands together in that prayerful posture, and suddenly it was a safety. Next week's game, the Los Angeles Cobras, the same Cobras, go on the road to the Rosemont Horizon to take on the Chicago Bruisers. 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time, right here on ESPN. Roger Twibel will join Steve Rabel for that encounter, and we look forward to bringing all of the arena football games to you this year.
Now remember, as in regular outdoor football, the team that gets the points for the safety also gets possession of the ball. And so here, New York kicking back to Los Angeles.
Not a bad kick by Best. Inside the 10-yard line, Mullen. Boy, did he find some room. We may have a clip on the opposite side of the field as Mullen goes up into the front row, into the euchre seats.
I was going to say cheap seats, but those are actually the most expensive seats on the field. Here's Mullen grabbing the ball. Actually was lucky to get his hand out there and get on it. What a block right there. Cuts back now across the field. One juke. Gets by one player, now looking for some running room. Decides, I think I'll get out of bounds, but this is a little further out of bounds than I wanted to go.
That's the advantage you have with boards in arena football over hockey.
On the return, clipping, number 84 of the return team, first down.
Mike Jones of the Cobras, as we mentioned, on the opposite side of where Mullen was running. And they were quick to throw the yellow flag that time. It's hard to go over the boards when you're on skates.
Yes, especially when you've got that plexiglass up there protecting as well. You got to go high.
That's right.
To go over that. But here, about 52 inches will get you up over these padded walls.
And not a bad idea when you think about it.
Well, if I was down there, I know I'd want padding on there.
First down and 10, 42-40. The Knights with the lead. Stevens over the middle. Mullen incomplete, nearly intercepted. Hunter was back there and got a hand on it. He was actually covering Branch deep.
Unusual. Mullen reaching back, unable to make that catch. Getting a hand back on it. Played in 4 bowl games. There you see Stan Hunter, young man we've called Silk all evening. That's his nickname. And when you see him run, you really know why. At 6'2", 185 pounds, he's just long and lean and graceful. Kind of reminds me of a Johnny Stallworth.
He's one of the reasons Bowling Green was so successful in the MAC over the past few years.
Yeah.
Stevens tossing it out to Mullen, shy of the first down by a yard and a half. Corville was over there along with Edwin Lovelady to shove him up against the boards. 6 minutes and counting in the third quarter. And they really picked up where they left off from the second quarter. Both offenses seem to really be in gear right now.
Again, as we said at halftime, it really looked like it was going to be a slow offensive game in arena football, and you just don't expect that in this game. But boy, as you say, they really got firing on all cylinders.
Powell, the setback, giving some extra blocking help, and Mullen takes advantage of it. Ridden out of bounds at the 16-yard line of New York.
Well, those players are close enough to reach out and touch. You don't need a phone call to reach out and touch somebody in this game. You end up right in the laps of those fans down on the rail. Here you see Mullins just driving downfield, planning and turning out. As we mentioned in the early part of the game, the arena football folks have done a great job in really spiffing up these fields. This is excellent turf down here. The shoes grab nicely. You got lots of padding underneath it, and it really is a fine surface to be playing on.
McKnight in motion now. On 1st and 10, Stevens incomplete, and again nearly intercepted. Lovelady had a hand on it, and then Best nearly came up with the tip drill interception.
Again, Greg Best really showing us something as a defensive back, because this kid was a wide receiver at K-State, Kansas State, but he's following the ball. If you're in position, again, you react as a football player and you try to get some part of the body up there and knock that ball down. McKnight, who's done such a great job leaping and making the big catches tonight, unable to come down with that. Good play by Greg Best.
Actually had it in inverse order. Best made the play, and then Lovelady nearly had the pick. 2nd down and 10 for Los Angeles. At the 18-yard line, Stevens really throwing in desperation that time. Linebacker Hughes was coming, and Powell did all he could to obstruct Hughes away from his quarterback, but still he had to unload.
And I think McKnight, either McKnight running the wrong route or Stevens, as you say, just trying to get rid of the ball to keep from having to eat it back there in the backfield. But McKnight was coming on a crossing route, and Stevens perhaps thinking he was running it out, and I just put right into the wall.
The interesting thing I notice about this, particularly with the illegal zones, you see the 3rd down conversions now, LA at 50%. Hughes, number 44, if he ever peels back into pass coverage, I'm automatically thinking yellow flag, illegal zone. Watch him setting up now on the right-hand side. Stevens, I see he stays within that 5-yard area that time, and it's thrown away again by Matt. He can't backpedal more than 5 yards. The linebacker is allowed to go back only 5 yards.
And he saw his his player, the man he's supposed to be covering, he saw him stay in and block that time, so he knew right away that he was going to make the step forward. Now we have Beavers into the game. Check that. It's Ken Olson coming back in. So we'll get another attempt at a field goal. Again, Ken Olson, a straightaway kicker from Salisbury State in Maryland.
You'd think that the old traditional kickers, the Jim Turner types, would have a better chance with the narrow crossbar simply because the sidewinder's kick will hook one way or the other. There you see, only 8 feet. There it is.
And there it goes.
And it's live. And Lovelady's got it. Dances around and nearly broke free before McKnight made the tackle, and again a marker down. Thrown in an area where we may have that 5-yard problem, or perhaps a clip. We'll see. Roll surgeon indicating that it is against Los Angeles.
So we'll get the step off here. Meantime, again, players getting an opportunity to catch their breath. Look down to the end zone. Some of the guys kind of bent over, trying to catch a little wind.
Violation of the 5-yard belt on the kick by the kicking team. 8 yards. First down.
How astute of you to pick that
Well,
up.
we're learning this game.
Absolutely. Right along with the officials and the fans and everybody else.
2:25 to play in the third quarter. And apparently a timeout call. Steve Rabel and Tim Brando with you from the Los Angeles Sports Arena. The Knights lead by 2. We'll be back. No, that's not Jim. We were looking at Jim before we saw her.
They're throwing little arena footballs out into the stands.
Miniature arena football.
That's right, and the fans are loving it. They're fighting for those balls being thrown up there. Remember, again, in this league, if the ball is kicked into the stands, the actual regulation game ball, the fans get to keep it.
They're really making this the fans' game, and yet, again, it is fun, it's exciting, and Krochicki will try to make it more exciting. Picked off by Kelly. Joe Kelly with the interception back into New York territory and out of bounds at the 18.
Joe Kelly was a big play guy down at Vanderbilt when he was playing there. Not a big kid. 6 foot, 175 pounds, but he leaps to make the interception off Krochicki. Big catch. Those were the kind of plays that he made in college. 19 receptions his senior year. 7 of them were touchdowns. He knows how to turn and run with the ball once he gets it in his hands. I don't think in college at Vandy he ever ran into a wall quite that hard, however.
He's an expected father, too, by the way, Joe Kelly. He and his wife, Andrea, expecting their 2nd child. It's 1:35 and counting here in the third quarter. The Cobras trailing by 2, but can take the lead here. Stevens, Kelly, incomplete. Touchdown! Rogers. Well, the pass was intended for Kelly, and Richard Rogers grabbed it.
That went through about 9 pairs of hands, it looked like. A 19-yard touchdown. Jim Valek says, man, I can't get a break. That's just ugly luck right there.
It all started with those miniature arena balls being thrown to the crowd.
It did. Everybody got excited. All right, here it is from the reverse angle. Stevens looking downfield. Lots of time. The ball deflected by the New York defender. There stands Richard Rogers. Hey, shades out of the Stanford Cal game. Look what I found, Mom.
That's right.
And he comes up with the 6.
It was destiny. Stevens to hole. Olson's kick. No good again. Boy, a frustrating night for Ken Olson, but there'll be other nights. 46-42, Los Angeles by 4 with 1:25 remaining in the third quarter. I'm Tim Brando along with Steve Rabel. Happy to be bringing you tonight's game, and it is the first of the year here on ESPN, and I'm happy to be here. This is a lot of fun.
I think the folks here in Los Angeles are pretty happy to see this, too. There's a very nice crowd in the sports arena this evening. The first time arena football has been played in Los Angeles. You know, these folks have got to come out and say, what is this game? I mean, I may have seen it last year on ESPN once or twice, but tell me something about this game. Show me. They are being shown tonight that this is an exciting brand of football.
The great thing, even if you're up in the rafters here, you're still closer to this game and can feel this game much more so than you would at a regular football game. Here, the kickoff from the end zone. Look at it from the low angle. What a time for that to happen, because it hits the scoreboard and comes down. Now, remember, where the scoreboard is where they'll mark it, not where it bounced.
So they'll find the spot, and New York will have excellent field position right here.
Oh, that's a prophetic move by Chet Forte, going to that shot, and right on cue, the kick goes right into the scoreboard.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Chet didn't have something to do with that. He has control over just about everything. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't talk to Olsen.
No.
He's having a rough enough night.
That's right. You don't want to get Chet on his back.
From the 24-yard line, Krochicki, pump fake. Corville wide open, and he underthrew him. And Krochicki very upset with himself.
Matt Krochicki is a very intelligent young man. This guy's got a future on Wall Street. A business major, an Ivy Leaguer, very intelligent young man, and very cool under pressure, standing back there finding the open guy.
He was in position to get a job. You see his numbers. They're not good. But again, remember, 8 completions, but he's been throwing deep.
That's right.
So
and long touchdown passes.
Alfonso Washington out of bounds inside the 25-yard line on a second down play. But Krochicki was in position to go to work for the exchange right when the NFL strike hit. And then, of course, they had the market blowout, the market blast. So it really was a very good time for him to be in position to get back into the game. And now suddenly arena football is born, and New York has a franchise, and now he's got a new career. Time running out in the third quarter, 46-42. And we're 3/4 the way done here at the Sports Arena in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Cobras have regained the lead, albeit by 4 in L.A. Followed by the Formula One Grand Prix of San Marino. All coming your way on ESPN, the driving force in motorsports. The NASCAR circuit moving on to Alabama at the International Motor Speedway there for the Winston 500. Well, that's a hot area of racing motor style. You mentioned Kentucky, your home. Boy, Talladega in that area in Alabama,
yeah.
They love their NASCAR. 231 total yards for New York to 181 for Los Angeles. And that's on a 50-yard field. Krochicki as we open the fourth quarter for Lovelady. Touchdown. Krochicki flat on his back, and a linebacker blitzing Weppy Powell. Krochicki unloaded and made the Cobras pay.
Lovelady, who's certainly used to getting downfield deep. That time looking for the pass from Krochicki, finding it. Lockett turned completely around, lost his offensive player.
See the job Hughes does picking up Powell?
Great job by Derek Hughes. Actually, he was a big surprise in Seahawk training camp. I kind of thought he might make the team a couple of years ago. Here we see it from the reverse angle now. You see Krochicki dropping back. Boom. He gets hit, but the ball is off. And a nice little start and stop that time by Lovelady gets him free.
And they go for 2 again. And Krochicki in some trouble now. Oh, and a great block. And Hughes has it. But he stopped shy of the end zone. There was a mean block thrown that allowed Krochicki the opportunity to set sail with that pass. Take a look at this hit as Krochicki scrambles around looking for Hughes. That's Chuck Harris and Powell all in pursuit. And here it comes right there.
Wake me up when it's over, baby.
Pete Walters.
The ball thrown. Hughes, I thought, was going to fight through this, but a nice job by Rodgers and Lockett and the rest of the defenders to keep him out of the end zone.
48-46, and it's not hoops. We'll be right back.
The Porsche 944. The Volvo 740 Turbo Wagon. To you, they're 2 completely different cars. But to a radar gun, they look exactly alike.
Tim Brando and Steve Rabel back at the Sports Arena in Los Angeles. They announced the attendance here, 10,157. I think even the officials in arena football would tell you that if there's a market that was critical, it would be Los Angeles. There's so much going on here with the Lakers. The Los Angeles Dodgers are at home tonight against the Cardinals. Nice crowd. Rodgers stays on his feet, didn't make the lateral. He's at the 18-yard line and down, and that's where the Cobras will start 1st and 10.
It must be tough for him to hang on. Take a look at the crowd here. Nice crowd in Los Angeles. Again, a lot of folks maybe a little bit concerned. It's been pretty nice weather down here. A little breezy in Los Angeles today, but nice weather nonetheless. But the folks come out, let's face it, this time of year, as big a deal as ESPN makes of the NFL draft, and as many folks as watch that, you know that people are interested in football this time of year.
30 seconds deep into the 4th quarter. Matt Stevens now, and his club trailing by 2. And Rogers suddenly more of a force offensively. Out of bounds at the 23. Best knocking him out there.
Here's Matt Stevens. Pretend you're a defensive back, and you're looking into the eyes of Matt Stevens, and you see him turn and rifle that ball to Rogers. If you're Greg Best, one of those defensive backs, you're getting over there in a big hurry, and you're both sliding into the walls.
Joe Kelly is in the game. Receiver at the lower portion of your screen, and there's the pitch to Powell that we saw so early in this game. Utilize it again and get a healthy gain for the 1st down.
Powell runs over a couple of his own men, including his big tight end from the State University of New York at Brockport. That's Michael Jones, number 84. But Weppy Powell, a big kid. Again, a linebacker type out of San Jose State, but has done very, very well in running the ball after he finally got control of it early on. Dropped the ball a couple of times early in the ball game.
Rogers in motion. Stevens is in trouble. Hughes got there, and the momentum carried Matt to the mat,
so to speak. And Matt not happy about it. Derek Hughes pretty happy about it, however. Big guy like him gets a chance at a little skinny quarterback back there, virtually unprotected. Here comes Derek Hughes, and nobody touched him. That time Weppy Powell, who was supposed to pick him up, turned the other way. Derek Hughes had a clean shot at the quarterback, and quite frankly, I'm surprised Stevens gets up and walks away from that one.
By the way, that rushing 1st down we had moments ago from Powell was the first rushing 1st down of the game by either team.
Very different. We're going to have here Jones, Michael Jones of Los Angeles. I believe he moved a little bit in that down position. Once you put your hand down as an offensive lineman, you can't move. So we'll get a procedure call against the Cobras.
False start, number 84, offense, still 2nd down.
Earl Sorgen, if his name sounds familiar to you, he's a USFL official, and most of these officials are from the USFL because Jim Foster, the founder of the league, was of course an executive in the USFL with the Blitz and the Wranglers and other organizations, and he went where he knew he had people that he knew that could govern this game and even help come up with rules. Stevens looking long, overthrowing everyone, included in that Joe Kelly and Rogers. And it will be 3rd down and long coming up.
Joe Kelly gets to trot back. This is the toughest thing. Again, I keep going back to it, and I will for 14 more weeks here on Arena Football, but this is tough on these guys. They've got to run downfield, 45, 35, 45 yards, sprinting, looking for a pass, jog back because the 30-second clock gets wound up by the official, and they get the thing going again. Not a lot of chance to rest out here on the field.
Well, that's a good innovation for this game.
Keeps it moving.
Definitely does. Clock moving at 11:45, and Stevens gets away from Hughes, launches it for Kelly, overthrown again. Vince Corville back there with him. And Stevens dodging several would-be sacks in his own backfield that time.
Talking to a couple of these wide receivers before the game. There's Matt Stevens looking on, saying, gee, if I'd have just had another half a second, I could have directed that ball a little more precisely to Joe Kelly. A couple of wide receivers, I asked him, how much conditioning do you have to do to be in such good shape to play this game? He says, we're conditioned to sprint 10, 20 yards, stop, jog back. Right. They're not conditioned to run a marathon, certainly.
This is a 36-yard field goal attempt now for Ken Olsen. And again, it's wide. And it's just not been that great night in the history of Ken Olsen. But there are 14 more games, Ken, believe me.
Maybe.
And it's still a 2-point game. He could still be a factor. The New York Knights leading the Los Angeles Cobras 48-46. Just under 11 minutes to play in our game. Tim Brando and Steve Rabel with you. Steve Rabel, of course, An outstanding receiver in his time with the Seattle Seahawks.
That time was from 115 to 145 one day in 1978. Not exactly a banner career, Tim, but it was fun. I really enjoyed my time in professional football,
well, and
just as these guys are.
And you're being facetious. I mean, you did play with Largent and a few other. I can understand it was difficult logging playing time, but you did, and you made it count, as we showed at the outset.
Thank you. The highlight. My highlight slide. Some guys have films. I've got a slide.
Crocicchia from his own end zone out of the shotgun. And Lockett with a near. It's caught by Lovelady. Credit the assist to Wade Lockett. Touchdown, New York, and boom shakalaka in the end zone.
Do a little dance back there. You can't play any better defense. Then again, and that's right, Lockett's shaking his head. He said, I don't know what else I could do. I had my hands on the ball. Well, let's face it, you're talking about an excellent wide receiver in Edwin Lovelady. He's the guy that this New York team is going to look to go to in tough situations. Crocicchia going deep. Well, I'll tell you what, even bad luck would be good for Los Angeles in that situation.
It was justice served there. I'm thinking that there was interference. Now, I'm thinking he hit him a couple of times there in coverage, a few bumps.
Lovelady bounced him around, bounced the defender around a little bit.
I'm thinking Lockett may have knocked him around a couple of times there.
He may have, so you decline a penalty and you take the touchdown.
Yeah, you're right. They're getting a lot of breaks.
Yes, they really are. Let's see if they can get a break here and put 2 more on the board. We know they can't kick the extra point.
Again, Raguso out of the game with a full groin, their normal kicker. And we've got a marker down. Too much time, the indication. Well, that's the first time we've seen that. 30-second clock, which, by the way, is located just beneath the crossbars on both end zones. You really have to search for the 30-second clock many times.
Absolutely.
There it is.
See a couple of fans sitting there. Some fan for L.A. perhaps reach over and unplug it. Cobras have all night to get a play off.
And they'll try it again from the 8-yard line. Crocicchia for Hunter. Out of bounds, they say. Linesman Roger McKen signaling he was outside. Remember, 1 foot in is all that's necessary.
The old alley-oop pass. Here is Crocicchia looking deep for the touchdown. Now watch this again. Let's talk about ball bouncing around on people's hands. Comes down. There's Lockett in position to basically intercept it. But what he does is he tips it right back to Lovelady, who tips it to himself.
And he was going for the ball. He had every right for it. No interference there.
He had that one planned all the way.
54-46 Knights. Best is teeing it up. It'll be his turn. They've used Alec Gibson there, Morrow there, and no Paco Raguso, and it's been evident in the field position that the Cobras have gotten. Let's see what Best can do. One of the better efforts, I might add. And it's Powell in position again, and he gets it to midfield. So Best with certainly not an artistic kick, but lengthy. Powell made use of a couple of blocks and got it up to midfield. 12 yards on the return for Weppy Powell out of San Jose State. And if you joined us late, he played junior college ball at Saddlebrook JC, and his assistant, his head coach there was at one time a friend of Ray Wilsey, the head coach of the Cobras. After they had the tryouts, and 414 players tried out for the Cobra team in this area, Powell suddenly got a job. I'm sure the guy that was in the last cut is very upset. Stevens finding Cliff Branch inside the 20 to the 18-yard line. Pick up 7. It will be 2nd and 3 coming up. Morrow made the stop.
Cliff striding back to the huddle. What some of these young guys think out here playing with a guy like Cliff Branch. Once you get out on the field, 7 catches incidentally for Cliff, 55 yards. Pretty good day. Better take a look at Lovelady's statistics here, though, coming up. A couple of touchdowns for Lovelady.
And Mullins had an outstanding game. If you look at his numbers, and of course we expected that with his appearance in the Arena Bowl a year ago. He had 9 receptions in that game. Stevens lost the handle all the way back to his 21-yard line. Johnny Shepard covered him there. Matt Stevens has had problems a few times getting the handle. This time I think it just slipped from his own grasp.
Well, it's not because
no, wait a minute. He got a hand on it. The defensive lineman there did. That was Alec Gibson that started that.
That's right. Gibson from Illinois, big guy, sticks his hand in there and knocks it away. Again, though, as a quarterback, you got to protect that ball when you're dropping back. You're going to have lots of people around you. You have to keep that ball in close to the body and up high, ready to throw.
3rd down and 13. Stevens overthrowing the intended receiver, Mullen.
And a fan in the stands makes the catch. Oh, he's got a souvenir. High five, everybody, pal.
He makes the catch.
Run down and put a helmet on and join this team.
Well, the only places where you can get a souvenir ball are Dodger Stadium or the Sports Arena or the Big A in Anaheim.
Offensive player doesn't even go up in the air for it, but the fan took it right in the gut. Phew. Look at that. Knocked the wind out of him as he falls back. And his touchdown. These folks are having a good time here tonight.
Olsen again. It may be. It could be. It's off. The high bar again, and live, and Corville is down in the end zone for a touchback. Well, I was set to say it is, but it wasn't.
Well, it was close.
It was very close.
You never know. You got to practice. Get ready for that, because one of these just may fall in.
Well, the thing I'm thinking, he's missed all of these opportunities in the game, and yet it's still close. It's an 8-point differential. It could come down to a field goal, and we could have that goat to hero story. Don't forget, the road to the Cup continues here on ESPN. The Stanley Cup Wales Conference Finals, Game 1, the New Jersey Devils. Jim Schoenfeld, what a job he's done with that organization. They won 3-2 tonight over the Capitals. The Boston Bruins, of course, also with some history, knocking off the Canadiens for the first time in 45 years. And they're in the Wales Conference Final. You'll see it here. And there is again a touchdown pass for Washington. Alfonso Washington, and Krochickia does it again with the same pattern.
They love the deep post this New York team does. They're able to clear out the defensive backs on either side, run out routes. Take a look at Alfonso. Here he is, number 20. We're going to watch him all the way. Just turns McKnight around. Now, McKnight's a great kid, and he's made some big catches, but he doesn't have the foot speed to keep up with Alfonso Washington. A 45-yard touchdown reception, and that ball thrown right on the money.
And that's the second time those two have hooked up from that distance.
Well, they should remember how it's done then, because they did it earlier in the game. Notice how Krochickia really stepping up nicely into that pocket. Again, we haven't given a lot of credit to the Bulls, the big offensive linemen in front of him, but those guys have done a pretty good job tonight protecting.
They'll go for 2 again. It's already a 14-point difference now. The Knights taking control. Morrow is open, but only briefly. Now Krochickia in deep trouble, and he'll do the honorable thing and hit the deck before Arrington helps him. 7 minutes, 26 seconds left. And the Cobras now down by 14. A long way to come, but in plenty of time. And this is arena football. A lot can happen. The Knights leading the Los Angeles Cobras with that much time remaining. And I think these offenses are perhaps as good as Paul Westhead's over at Loyola Marymount.
If you didn't know, you thought you were in the third quarter of the Knicks-Lakers game.
That's right. McKnight takes the kick and is beyond the 20 to the 21-yard line. 73 points is the most points ever scored by a winning team in arena football. And right now the Knights are a couple of touchdowns away from eclipsing that. And again, the Cobras now, let's not rule out the fact that in 7:16 and counting, you've got plenty of time. And with 1 minute remaining in this period, the clock will stop just as it does in conventional football. The clock is, of course, always running the first 14 minutes of the fourth period and the second period, and then they have the clock stoppages. The Denver Dynamite, by the way, got to 73 points. They won the league championship in the test pattern year of a year ago. Stevens, under pressure, gets away from Shepard, lets it fly for Mullen. He never had control. Oh, he did. Touchdown.
Oh, we've got both officials now. They're going to talk about it. The one official is waving off the other.
He never had control, and you could tell. Vince Corville is also so, hey, you didn't get a touchdown. Wait a minute.
You know who had the touch? You know who had control was the fan in the stands who that ball ended up right in his lap. Lovelady, watch this. Here he is. He's lined up wide. He's going to take off the deep post. Runs right by the defender. Looking downfield. Stevens sees him. Throws the ball. Now watch. Mullen looking back. Almost a face guard right there. Could have been a penalty. Mullen doesn't have control as he steps out of the end zone. The ball bounces around, and who gets it? Oh, I got it. Thank you very much.
That's amazing, though.
I always knew the football bounced crazily, but this game tonight, I've never seen it like that before. Let's go deep.
Mullen again. That should be face guarding, and it's not. No call again. Boy, I agree with you there. That was obvious.
Yeah, I agree with the fans here. They all think it was face guarding. The defender simply jumped in front of him, and that, if you're going to go by the normal rules of football, that's what you can't do. Corbel just jumping up in the air. Here's the deep pass down to the far end zone, and Corbel just simply didn't know where the ball was. Just stuck his hands up right in front of Mullen's face. Mullen complaining. You know, I think the officials this nonstop game, they might get a little bit tired too.
Yeah.
They've got to race up and down this field with these guys.
Well, you better be in shape.
You got to be in shape to be up here. We haven't had a break yet.
5:34 and counting. It's 3rd down and 10. Stevens has been looking deep lately. This time he goes underneath. Mullen. Will they give him credit? Yes, I think they will. Out of bounds. Just inside the 17-yard line. And Gary Mullen seems to be the target now for Matt Stevens.
Well, they'll continue to go to Mullins until I think Stevens feels like he can look back and pick up Branch. If they put Branch, and he is in the game, Mullins there making the catch on the sidelines and stepping out, and wisely not getting blasted into those pads, because that, like a body shot to a boxer, takes it out of you just as much as sprinting up and down the field.
1st and 10. Stevens for Branch. He got one hand on it, and that's all that saved Vince Corbel from having an interception. It's getting physical out there. Weppy Powell and Johnny Shepard tying up.
Stevens picks himself up off his wallet. Corbel a little bit tired, chasing Cliff Branch around.
Krachickia getting some stitchery done.
He may have to shave part of that beard off. You know, Krachickia, again, Wall Street type of kid, intelligent kid out of Penn, loves to ride his Harley. You know, is this going to be, what's he going to look like with a bandage on his chin riding his Harley?
Mullen. Oh, that pass was, look, a wounded duck coming out.
Mullen heard him coming up that time. He knew somebody was on his back.
And Stevens really didn't get all of it, all of what he had into that pass.
No. Alfonso Washington, though, was coming up quickly. Oh, the ball was tipped right at the line of scrimmage. The ball was tipped. Mullins came back for it, but again, he heard Washington coming up behind him. And having been there, I know they sound like elephant steps behind you when somebody's coming.
Alec Gibson got that hand up and knocked it away. 3rd down. Stevens. And that time it was a pump fake, and inadvertently left. It'll go down as an incompleted pass, and once again Shepard and Powell are tied up.
These two guys have had a real battle going.
Yeah.
With Powell, he got the worst of it that time. Hey, smiling. Hey, take my helmet off again. We'll see what happens.
He's a tough kid.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what the coach, I was talking with Ray Wilsey. I asked him, I said, is there one player out here that we don't know a lot about that really has impressed you? And no stutter, no stammer, immediately Weppy Powell. He said, this kid's just great, and he is an infectious personality on this club.
And we were told by the folks from the Knights that Shepard, number 32, who was also involved in that battle, the meanest guy on that team. He's a weightlifter in the offseason, loves it.
All right, Olsen again. He could have a standing O. It's a fake. Stevens throws, and it's knocked away by Alfonso Washington. So the fake was on that time, but they were not going to be fooled, the New York Knights.
Now, I know it sounds awful if I say this, but Ray Wilsey told me to be watching for a fake field goal. Sounds like I knew it was coming. I wish I'd have said it before the play. But because the defensive team has to be so concerned with the ball coming off the nets, sometimes you can sneak one in. Not that time.
60-46 our score. For the New York Knights, they have possession with 2:41 and counting, but remember, the clock will stop with first downs with 1 minute left. And Krachickia goes deep, and Rogers had a hand on it. Was in position for the interception, but Hunter helped to knock that one away.
Funny, even with, 2:30, 2:20 left in the ball game, the Knights not content to sit on it. Their ball game is throwing deep, and that's what they've done all night and been successful. That time overthrowing the receiver just a little bit, maybe offensive interference perhaps. At this point in the game, I don't know if the officials can even get the sock out of their pocket. They may be a little bit tired too.
Lovelady's limping now as he comes to the lower portion of your screen. And Krachickia is down. Brian Clark comes through along with Mike Jones for the stop. Jones may have a great career. This is a youngster that, and again, this This is the kind of game where you hate to say he's got an unbelievable future, but he really does in any sport. There's Lovelady, and again, he's really lame, pulling up as he tries to set free on the deep pattern here.
He's hurting. He's been favoring the leg here for about a quarter or so, and that's all she wrote for Edwin Lovelady. And again, in a pass offense structured like this, where your guys generally have to get deep, hey, it's awfully tough on those legs. These guys are still fairly sore, as a matter of fact, from training camp. They've only been out of camp a week and a half.
Jim Krochickia wants more. Feel it in the jugular vein now. They're up by 2 touchdowns. It was coming out of the game, and the offensive assistant coach, Monty Charles, was vehemently upset, and at some point, those two definitely had words, and now enter Stan Jagiello out of William and Mary to quarterback the last minute and 45.
I'm wondering if maybe Krochickia was coming out of the game against his wishes to get Jagiello a little bit of playing time. He was not happy about coming out. Monty Charles was really giving it to him on the sideline.
Jagiello back in the pocket and lets it fly for Best. Now, there were 3 men around him.
I think some might say, why isn't that considered a zone defense? Well, the ball fluttered for so long up in the air. Jagiello's first pass, he's not very loose. He's been standing over there charting plays the entire game, and if he's as tired as we are trying to keep track of this ball game, he is, his arm at least is sore and trying to pin all the plays.
Jagiello obviously very successful while at William and Mary. I'm wondering if perhaps, and again, you bring in Jagiello with a 2-touchdown lead. Granted, it's a 2-touchdown lead. He seems to be happy now with his ailing chin. I'm okay, no problem.
It said 1 stitch, that's all it took. Bandage will be off in a day or so.
I was about to suggest that maybe that deep pattern they threw was out of the offensive system, and Charles maybe didn't want that, so he got him out of the game.
Could very well be. You never
That's
can't
speculation,
tell.
obvious,
Sure.
but you wonder, 2 touchdowns with 1:38 in this game is not a big lead.
You know, again, the clock is going to stop in 38 seconds. With the last minute of play, it'll stop on every dead ball, and so you can get a lot of plays in the ball game that way.
1:38 left to play. There's not a lot the Cobras can do between now and 1 minute remaining. Perhaps use a timeout or two. I think using your timeouts becomes critical prior to 1 minute, because you know you'll have the opportunities for stoppages of play with 1 minute left. You go into the offense, you get a first down, automatically the clock stops as the chains move.
Sure.
You see the timeouts remaining there. The Knights with a full complement, and the Cobras have 2. And there's Coach Erber.
There's some discussion going on now. The official, Sorgan, standing on the far sideline talking with the coaches from Los Angeles. Ray Wilsey out on the field yelling some instructions to his players, or maybe he's still yelling at the official. I don't know.
Well, they have to get the timeout straight.
There's Wilsey. He's not happy about something.
And it's field goal time now. 56 yards for Best. And it will be really a good punt in the real sense. And a nice tackle at midfield. As coming back up with it, Wade Lockett inside the 25 to the 22-yard line. It's 1st and 10 for the Cobras with 1:28 to play. And the lack of a kicking game has affected both clubs, but I think obviously Olson's missed a lot of opportunities of field goal tries, but simply not having a kicker to help give you field position on kickoffs is really what's hurt New York, and LA's had an advantage there.
You wouldn't think of a game like this as being dictated by field position, but certainly the shorter field has got to make it easier on your passing game.
Stevens back to throw. There's Lockett at the 10-yard line with 1:10 left to go in the game. And they quickly hurry to the line. The clock continues to run, but we're now under the 1 minute mark. 1 minute to play. 60 to 46 our score, and this last minute will take far longer than the previous 14, believe me. We'll be right back to the Sports Arena in a moment.
1 minute timing roll is now.
60 to 46 the score. The New York Knights leading the Los Angeles Cobras. 1 minute remaining this game, and the ball at the 10-yard line. And with the live ball coming off the nets, it's not your usual 14-point cushion in the conventional style of football that we here in North America have come to know and love. This is a different game, and 14 is the equivalent of 6. It really is.
It is. I hate the old saying, when the fat lady sings, it's not over till the fat lady sings, but it's really true in this game.
Stevens for Kelly. Just lost it. Good coverage by Hunter that time. Stan Hunter. Morrow is also over there, but credit Stan Hunter for blanketing Joe Kelly that time.
Stan Hunter will make, again, let's remember, this is professional football. All these guys are going to make some money playing this game through July, and those who go on to arena ball, but Hunter will maybe be a little more astute at what to do with it as the manager of a bank in Dayton, Ohio during his non-football playing time.
Second down and 10 yards to go now, just outside the 10-yard line. They could get a first down without the benefit of a touchdown. 56 seconds left and a 14-point lead for the Knights. Stevens. Well, that's something that we've seen a little of tonight. Frankly, not as much of as I would have anticipated with this being the first game. Lockett just dropped that one.
Oh, and he's mad at himself, too, and he knows he should have had that. He just wanted to turn and run before he had the ball in his hands. And, of course, in a game like this, where you're not exactly sure where that guy is, by this time in the game, that defender may be so tired he's 6 or 7 yards deep, and you may have an opportunity to turn, get upfield, and if not get to the end zone, you're thinking always get out of bounds to stop that clock.
Well, this will be the first time on ESPN in '88 this season we've said this is a critical third down play. Stevens looking to throw, and there's again Lockett, and he has it knocked away from Hunter. 47 seconds now remaining. Well, we've just learned that Krochickia was coming off really didn't want to come off the field, and he and Monty Charles exchanged words, the offensive coordinator, and that's why we had that difficulty in trying to figure out what the problem was between those two as we went to the timeout.
You know, Krochickia, he wants to stay in there. He wants to play the game. He's led the team this far. He's put 60 points on the board with his passing. It's always nice to be out there on the field when the game ends. Get high fives from all your teammates.
Fourth down. Stevens needs this one terribly, and look at Kelly. Touchdown. There's your fat lady, but will she sing?
Kelly, a nice job that time of breaking free. Vince Corbel was the defensive back trying to cover. Here's Joe Kelly, number 20 in the blue jersey. As he crosses underneath, his defender gets caught up in the wash back there, and Joe Kelly wide open for the 10-yard touchdown reception. Oftentimes the toughest pass to catch when you're out there all by yourself, and you know it.
That was Morrow that got burned, by the way.
Here's what the defensive backs are seeing as Matt Stevens stands back there, and he sees Joe Kelly wide open in the end zone.
60-52, and they go for 2 to make it a 6-point differential. Stevens over the middle, and Rogers was knocked down. No flag, so the play will stand. It's an 8-point lead, but remember, a touchdown and a 2-point conversion could tie the game. And then we'd have to explain the overtime rules and get ready for 7.5 minutes of play. But that's another subject.
Yeah,
if we have to deal with it, we will. But until then, we'll tell you it's an 8-point lead for New York. Stay with us. 52 our score, 42 seconds left to play. The New York Knights leading the Los Angeles Cobras. They'll kick off. Now, this is obviously an opportunity for Olsen to help his cause. He's had a very tough night. If he can boot this one long enough to go up against the net and the ball is live, then that's the equivalent of an onside kick. The only difference is you got a chance to score on that onside kick.
That's right. He's got to give his teammates a chance to get down there. There's the high kick. It comes down, however, in the end zone.
And Corbel thought about bringing it out. It's a touchback, so it's the 5-yard line. It will be the line of scrimmage, and I think they're going to come back with Yagiello at quarterback. So Valek has made the choice, and Yagiello's the man. And Monty Charles, you see there next to Valek, he's the one that had words with Krochickia when he came out of the game. And you have to wonder about this, Steve.
You know, I'm not altogether sure if Krochickia obviously did not want to come out, but could it have been maybe the injury, maybe the bleeding of the chin, maybe he had something else get banged up out there that they felt like they were forced to bring him out of the game. He certainly was playing well enough.
Yagiello will just go to one knee.
Well, here's another reason why bringing Yagiello in. If you plan on not throwing the ball at this point, you don't need your starter in there.
Right.
You just hope to run the clock down and let Los Angeles use up its timeouts.
So the Cobras utilize 1 timeout. They had 2 timeouts moments ago. That may be their final timeout. It is their final timeout. So that's the idea there, is to just simply run out the clock. The Cobras have none remaining. So they have to get the turnover at this point. Zeman, who's the defensive specialist, and Dad, of course, coached at one time with Coach Wilsey, discussing what they can do to get the ball back. Next week, this 50-yard indoor war will continue with the Los Angeles Cobras taking on the Chicago Bruisers. That game at the Rosemont Horizon outside Chicago. And you've gotten a good taste of it here, and it's certainly worth the watch, and I think a great ticket for the fans.
I don't think there's any question about it. Again, we talked about it. Fans are football starved about this time of year, and this gives them a great opportunity to come inside, sit down, have a nice glass of lemonade, and watch some big guys beat up on each other.
The 30-second clock between plays is something to figure here, because there's 36 seconds left on the game clock. And again, down to one knee with 33 seconds left. So they'll have to get back to the line of scrimmage again.
But the clock continues to run. Los Angeles can do nothing but watch it run out. And I think that's going to be all she wrote, because the referee has yet to wind up the 30-second clock.
See, I think Wilsey's saying, now wait a minute, he was down with more than 34 seconds left. They should have to line up and snap the ball with 3 seconds left. That's the point he's making. Of course, it's not being heard from the officials. So the Los Angeles Cobras, in their inaugural game in arena football, will fall short to the New York Knights by a final score of 60-52. This is Tim Brando for Steve Rabel, saying we hope that you enjoyed it.
Fun. We'll take a listen to that as we get set to go here. Babe Parilli, the head coach, as we mentioned.